Instantly getting us. Instantly getting us. On these ads. Hello, all newcomers. Welcome back, my fellow Aeternians. As always, it is me, Emperor AP, and I am so glad to be here with you today. Today, there are multiple things going on. First off, I am able to redo a stream that I wanted to do the other night, but ended up having to be called away for. So, now that the other stuff that I've been doing has been taken care of, I am happy to be here with you guys. Glad to be hanging out and looking at some Vice News videos with you guys. I don't know if you know this, but Vice News is one of the larger platforms for micronations, weirdly enough. And so we are going to be talking about that. It's kind of a weird scenario too, because sometimes Vice looks into micronations more in depth and they cover things more generally and then more explicitly, and then sometimes no, thank you. Oh, sorry, I got it. Thank you. Sometimes they will cover things really specifically with a micronation, then other times they're just like, oh, look at this weird hobby thing. So it's interesting to see the different ways that they react to that, and we're going to kind of look through different micronations to see which ones they look at, how they're trying to view their criteria, and we're going to kind of judge Vice's take on micronations. So this will be interesting. First off, Ava Braun jumped in and said hi. Hey Ava, how are you? Oh, excuse me. Goodness. Nope, not hello to that person, actually. It just hit into my mind what that is. My apology, not hi to you. Hello to everyone else. How are you? Jesus Christ. Okay, so jumping in, let me go back. I have some free for profit Pink for you guys. He's been working hard, coming out with a lot of new stuff. And let me jump in to the live stream. Hey, everybody's jumping in. Hold up. So Maki said hi. It's good to see you, Esnia. I know you were wanting a live stream, so I'm glad that you're jumping in. Aristoria, I know Manu wanted to be here. I'm waiting on Manu. Esnia said camera is kind of glitched. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope it's working a little better. I've been trying to figure out how to use my camera, my EOS camera, as a webcam, and it has such a pretty picture. It's such a nice setup that I hope it works out. So we're gonna try it. Here is our Vice News. They have a whole section actually talking about micronations and talking about the different articles that they've covered on micronations. So real quick, let me go ahead and mute this Pink right now, and we will jump in. Oh, as well, I forgot to mention this. Tiffany actually helping me out. She pointed it out to me. Let me jump back to the cam screen. Hey, we have, if you haven't seen yet, hey, Manu said he's here. It's good to see you, Manu. We have this beautiful Empire of Aeternia picture back here. If you haven't seen it, it's going to change your life. This is a picture done by our own Tiff, as you can't read down here because the camera's blurred in the background, but still, it has the Empire of, and then it has our arrow symbol, our symbol of progress, our symbol of perseverance, our arrow through the axe head as our A, and then she spells out the rest of Eternia. It was a really cool idea. I love it. I actually want to make like some posters and stuff like that that's based on that same design. It's really cool. So I definitely appreciate Tiff for that. It's another one of the like wonderful things to hang on our wall. We have 2 Tiff related things right here already, so I'm super proud to be making that a continued part of our culture. So thank you again to Tiff, and I am super excited to be talking about Vice micronations when our micronation is leveling up and getting better. Also, you guys may not have seen this, you may not have caught this in your periphery, but second coin, I still need to make it better though. It kind of goofed a little bit when I printed it. There's some ugliness right here. It's all still 100% aluminum, but it's a little bit ugly right there, so I want to go and clean it up, make it nice and pretty, like this one with that beautiful A in it. But real quick, not that beautiful A, that beautiful arrow, excuse me, that beautiful arrow through the axe head. Okay, so Esnia says it's like freezing and unfreezing lots of times per second. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is it like laggy, or is it? These are the ultimate questions. Real quick, let me go ahead and start jumping into these Vice videos. Maybe that'll help it a little bit. Okay. So I guess let's go to the beginning, to the oldest one. From 2013, the Imaginary Republic of Molossia. Ooh, they're kind of jumping in on it. It says travel. The Imaginary Republic of Molossia. When he is not the president of Molossia, Kevin Baugh is a retired sergeant first class of the U.S. Army, working in Human Resources Department of the Nevada National Guard. It would seem that declaring himself supreme ruler of a sovereign nation. That was by Carmen Machado, 2013. Let's check it out. And then she just dot dot dot. Uh, it would seem that declaring himself ruler of a sovereign nation, yeah, and then just doesn't continue. And then here's some pictures of, I assume, Carmen Machado shaking hands with the leader of Molossia, Kevin Baugh. Said, I'm driving to a place that doesn't exist. I'm doing this because the president of Molossia emailed me. Oh, interesting. So he reached out. He'd seen something I had written about his little nation, so he invited me for a visit. I'll gladly escort you around Molossia and show you the sights. It would be my honor, he wrote. I hope you will favorably consider my invitation and come see our great nation. Oh, that's really cool. Wholesome of Kevin. Warmest regards is actually Kevin Baugh, Public of Molossia. President Baugh, absolutely stepping up. Is he crazy? Friends ask me, but I don't know the answer yet. Um, now he seems like a sweet dude. On a Friday in September, I began the long drive from Berkeley through the Sierra Nevadas, skirted around the north end of Lake Tahoe, hit traffic. She's describing how to drive to it. An old boomtown over a vein of silver where Mark Twain began his writing career. Oh, goodness. Okay. So this one isn't actually a video, but they are going to. I was really hoping there was going to be a video on it. But there are a number of things she talks about. Yeah, she's describing just kind of the setup of Molossia. If you guys don't know much about Molossia, I would definitely tell you to go back and watch this. So this part is particularly interesting. But why a micronation? It's an expression of personal sovereignty, creativity, and imagination, and political satire. He says it's a nice way to look around the world. You can see what countries are doing and say, I can do that. That's cool. I appreciate that. But it does end in a way that defines for Molossia kind of how Molossia sees micronationalism. But it's interesting as well, because then right before that he clarifies with a different thing that seems to give some ambiguity. I asked the president what Molossia is. I try and frame the question in a way that isn't offensive or dismissive. Also, bless you, Tiff. I try to explain myself. Does he consider himself in character, like Stephen Colbert, constantly pushing the boundaries of caricature and reality? An artistic performance? Is this just a hobby? He says, and it's an extension of myself. It's not a hobby, it's like a passion. And that's, I guess, what's interesting. So he's like, it's an expression of my personal sovereignty. So he's like, I can just do this, is kind of why I'm doing it. And I respect that. I think it's interesting because he doesn't say like micronations are this like fantasy thing. He says it's like creativity and imagination and personal sovereignty. He frames it in a way where he's like, I'm personally doing this. I'm not trying to get like my family and my friends and everything involved in it. I'm not trying to build like a country of a whole bunch of people. I'm just making something that I enjoy for myself because that's what I want to do and I have fun with it. So it's interesting because a lot of the time when we compare micronations, we'll compare like Molossia to other micronations. And I don't think that's necessarily fair from Molossia's viewpoint. I would say that Molossia is in a situation where they don't want to be considered with other micronations. Not to say that they don't consider themselves a micronation, but they aren't trying to build a country in the same way that other micronations are trying to like get groups of people together and host citizens and things like that. I think there's a difference. They're not trying to create an economy. They're not, to the extent of beyond what he has created there at his home. And that defines Molossia, and I think that's what he's saying there. I definitely don't want to put words in his mouth, but it seems like he's saying that because this is a passion project of his, because this is something that is a part of who he is, it's more important for it to represent him and his artistic expression and his creative abilities than for it to be a for it to pursue goals and interests that are outside of that. So, foreign relations, artistic endeavors, things like that, anything that would be external to directly what he's working on internally, is probably just limited by his own interest and ability to do so. Which is a noble pursuit, honestly. I think a lot of micronations, if you are trying to start something that is a personal project and you're trying to do something that's just entertainment for you, that you're not necessarily trying to start a country to the same degree, if you're not trying to, get a whole bunch of people together and build something that they can live on and sustain and that other people can continue to grow from, if you're not trying to create something that you plan to be exponential, if you're trying to keep it small, if you're trying to keep it to be what it is from the start, Malassia's route is definitely an interesting way to go. I will say, for the first Vice article, I thought it was going to be more critiquing, and honestly, it was, but it was weird because it was critiquing something that doesn't take itself incredibly seriously as well. And I respect President Ball for inviting them over and having them sort of see what his nation is about. Thank you, Tiff. That's very sweet. Tiff brought me hot chocolate because she's amazing. Tiff's literally amazing. You guys don't get to see that often, but like Tiff's really, really cool. She shows up and is super sweet to me. I try and do my part to help her out off camera, but it's not as good as Tiff is to me. Tiff's amazing. So multiple things. Ooh, Amazing Connor said, there's 7 watching. Let's all like. Hey, that means a lot. Thank you, guys. Everybody's jumping in. It's good to see you, Amazing Connor. Amazing Connor says, oop, I'm on Amazing Connor. Oops, I'll go on Percall. Hey, Percall, it's good to see you as well. I know it's the same person, but hey, thank you guys for liking. Thank you guys for hanging out. Yeah, so the next one is the Kingdom of Germany. Now, this is one that's really interesting because it's the complete opposite side of the spectrum. I think this person doesn't really have, like, Malassia is defined as a micronation of micronations. It's a guy who's been doing this for a long time. He's known as kind of the poster micronationalist. Maybe Sealand is also considered in that category. Maybe Liberland, but they're newer, so it's harder to rope them in with some of the older ones. But Kingdom of Germany, I feel like, is different because they're doing something that is very much, it seems, attempting to start a nation as far as having the infrastructure of one, having a lot of people, having, like a little town set up, making sure that everybody has jobs and food, and things like that. But they don't really interact with the micronational community, it doesn't seem. They're not trying to be a micronation. But it's interesting because they are also called a micronation. And I'm curious to see, I watched this video a while back, if they call themselves a micronation or not. But this is the Kingdom of Germany. I have some interesting topics, interesting points about the Kingdom of Germany, but I want to watch it. I know it's a video. I straight up know there is a video on this. And I don't... it says, former chef and martial artist trainer Peter Fitzik has found his own micronation called the Kingdom of Germany. Alright, well, if it's straight up not going to take me to it, I guess I'll have to just go to it on YouTube. Why can't I just click on a video here? This is weird. Okay. The Kingdom of Germany. Hey, there we go. Kingdom of Germany, Vice News, creating a new state within Germany. That's what Vice called it when they did the video 8 years ago. Okay, let's check it out. Oh gosh, already starting loud. Okay. Let me check the volume for you guys.
Wie sie die Regionen auf neue Art kooperativ wieder organisieren. Dann wird ein Ritt durch Deutschland gehen. Und das motiviert mich natürlich sehr, vermehrt daran zu arbeiten.
Sorry guys, let me start it over.
Wenn die Bürgermeister dieses Wissen haben, wie sie die Regionen auf neue Art kooperativ wieder
Let me know if you
organisieren.
guys can see as well, because I can't
Dann wird
watch
ein
both
Ritt
their
durch
screens
Deutschland
at the
gehen.
same time.
Und das motiviert mich natürlich sehr, vermehrt daran zu arbeiten, die Basis einer Demokratie neu zu organisieren.
This guy's eye contact is so
Ich
damn
denke, dass diese
intense.
Ordnung nicht mehr ewig leben wird.
Ooh. Kingdom of Germany. Last time in their article they called it a micronation, now they're calling it a new state. Let's see.
Jetzt ist der Augenblick gekommen, um den neuen Staat zu gründen. Erhebt eure Herzen, wir erwarten die Souveräne.
As we await the sovereigns. Are there multiple? Oh, there's like a team. Yo, ooh. Oh, with this guy. Yep. I like how he has the old king.
Von dem Willen beflügelt, dem Schöpfer, den Menschen, dem Frieden und dem Fortschritt in der Welt zu dienen. Und in dem Bestreben, den Deutschen nach über 60 Jahren wieder eine Heimat in wahrer Freiheit zu geben, schaffen wir freien Männer und Frauen gemäß unserem freien Willen heute, hier und in diesem geschichtlichen Augenblick einen neuen deutschen Staat.
A little-known sub-article of German law entitles its citizens to found their own non-profit organization with independent legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Peter Frizik is exploring the legal loophole by finding his own state on German soil. He calls it the Kingdom of Germany. What the hell? Okay.
Ja, mein Name ist Peter Fitzek. Ich bin der oberste Souverän des Staates Königreich Deutschland. Dieser Staat hat sich am 16. September 2012 gegründet. Und er ist ein autonomes Gebiet im Bundesrepublik Deutschland.
September 6, 2012. So it's been 8 years. I wonder what they're currently up to. That's the next.
Ich habe mal als Oberbürgermeister der Stadt Wittenberg kandidiert. Ich habe auch schon mal für den Bundestag kandidiert. Ich wollte dem alten System zeigen, dass ich nicht gegen das System etwas habe. Und ich wollte etwas bewegen in dieser Welt. Ich habe aber gelernt, dass ich im bestehenden System sehr wenig verändern kann. Und insofern, denke ich, ist meine Kraft besser aufgehoben bei der Schaffung eines völlig neuen Systems. Und ich versuche den Menschen vorzuleben, dass es Systeme geben kann, in denen niemand verliert.
That got me. That got me. I appreciate his like passion. He was like, I tried to be the mayor. I even tried to run for parliament. Now I'm creating a country where nobody has to lose. And it's like, man, I'm sorry you lost. At least it inspired him to do something else. You know what I mean? The thing that gets me about it, I wonder what happened 60 years ago. That's part of the thing that's sketching me out. His speech said, 60 years ago, we're creating a new German state since 60 years ago. What was 60? That's concerning. Well, goodness. That's very concerning about what he thinks was a freer Germany. Also, this guy's getting me because he's saying, I think he's saying that he's trying to like progress German society or whatever, but he hasn't laid out any like plans specifically. Like he's not talking about like these are the issues.
Der nicht dem Kapital dient, sondern wir wollen einen Staat aufbauen,
Okay,
der
there
den
we go.
Menschen dient. Kein
Nice.
Werkzeug einer Herrschaftselite, die meint im Prinzip auf die Kosten anderer leben zu können.
Okay, so like he's like, I'm supporting socialism. People should like help each other, work together.
Es gab die
Shouldn't have
Erkenntnis,
too
dass
many
das
super
bestehende
rich people.
System selbst als System nicht zu reparieren ist, nicht zu heilen ist und auch mit dem Bewusstsein der Menschen nicht zu heilen ist, die die meisten Menschen haben. Insofern habe ich angefangen, neue Bildungswege zu gehen, indem ich den Menschen versucht habe, erstmal neue Wege vorzuschlagen, habe dann Menschen gesucht, die diese Ideen mittragen konnten, sodass gemeinschaftlich wir dann versucht haben, neue Strukturen zu bauen.
The vegetable garden. Hey, oh shit, that's a big event hall. Angel Store, King of Germany. Interesting.
Ich denke, dass andere Menschen noch nicht erkannt haben, was die Schöpfungsgesetze sind und dass es sinnvoll ist, sich an diesen Schöpfungsgesetzen
See, and that's the thing that's getting me, right? Is like, they have a lot of stuff. Apparently, as you can see. They had an event hall, they had their store is, I assume, a part of like an economic endeavor for them. And they also had their vegetable garden, which may also sell some of its produce, make it for some of its citizens. It seems like they have a decent amount of citizens, a significant amount of like in-person, actively working citizens. It seems like they have a good start in an economy, a lot of like purchased assets. It seems like they have a lot of assets in land and, you know, retail space, stuff like that.
Denn wenn der Mensch diese Dinge freiwillig tun würde, dann würde er viele dieser Leidenserfahrungen, die er in seinem Leben hat, gar nicht machen.
Why they aren't
Ich glaube, dass nichts
popping
zufällig
all
auf
the
diesem
way up.
Planeten geschieht. Alles folgt einer immanenten Ordnung. Ich denke, jeder hat sich schon eine Aufgabe
This guy's
gestellt,
telling
bevor
me
er
a
in
lie.
dieses Fleisch inkarniert ist.
See those?
Das gegenwärtige Königreich Deutschland besteht aus einer Menge Liegenschaften. Wir haben viele Grundlagen geschaffen,
Future
damit meine ich eine
hospital?
physische Basis, in denen jetzt sehr viel
Oh my god. So they're on a compound. Like they're on like a big piece of land with a lot of different buildings. How did this guy purchase all of this? Did it all come from the
Menschen sich wiederfinden können, wenn sie es
store?
wollen.
Like from that little store? There's gotta be something.
Das ist der Martin Schulz. Martin ist jemand, der heute diese Dinge begleitet hier.
That's
Und
true.
Martin ist der Leiter unseres
This is Martin
Medienteams.
Schulz of the company.
Martin
Martin
hat
is the head of
mal
our
Zeitsoldat,
media team.
war er mal
Martin
gewesen
got that
und hat
same
mal
camera
bei
I
der
do. I
Bundeswehr
appreciate you, Martin.
seinen Dienst getan, hat dann aber eingesehen, dass das vielleicht nicht die richtige Art ist, um etwas fürs Gemeinwesen zu tun. Ja, und seitdem er hier ist, macht er sehr gute Arbeit. Ich bin sehr zufrieden mit seiner Art, mit seinem Wesen.
Martin, warum filmst du alles?
Das machen wir immer so, wenn Kamerateams von außen da sind, weil das Material, was die Kamerateams hier bekommen, kann ja auch dazu verwendet werden, uns in einem nicht so guten Licht dazustehen. Weil wir machen ja auch Sachen, die manchmal auch provokativ sind.
Oh shit.
Ja, wir hatten hier eine größere
Hold
Veranstaltung.
on. So, oh, they're like Martin, bro. Your camera's gonna run out of storage space. Why are you filming literally everything? We're just riding in the car right now. And he's like, yeah, because sometimes people like to come at us, and we gotta make sure we're prepared constantly. And then they're like, we had a federal police raid on our property. There's something weird going. There's something happening.
Sie wünschen? Wir haben einen Durchsuchungsbeschluss für diese Räumlichkeiten und werden hier vertreten. Hier vertreten drin.
Like, hey, we have a search warrant. We're coming in right now. Those, ooh,
Haben
they
sie etwa
got
200 Personen
And
zu schaffen
200
gemacht,
federal
die herausfinden
officers.
wollten, ob
Wow.
wir
They
angeblich
thought
unerlaubtes
something was
Banken- und
happening.
Versicherungsgeschäft betreiben würden.
running
War
a
sehr-
legal
war sehr
bank
am
or
Königreich
insurance
Deutschland
business.
interessiert.
They searched for 6
Hat dann
hours,
6
couldn't
bis 8
find
Stunden
anything
durchsucht und
illegal,
hat
and
nichts
left
gefunden, was
empty-handed.
illegal wäre und ist dann wieder gegangen.
Das heißt, du hast gar keine Bank gegründet.
Ich habe eine Kooperationskasse gegründet, aber die rechtliche
Ooh, this man. They asked him. This guy is doing some concerning stuff too.
Sure, but if you start up like a business and stuff, and word gets out, and so you're in the United States, and you're trying to claim this as like a micronation, it's like your own thing, blah blah blah, here's your property, it's a business thing, so government officials can't just come on to a public business.
No, that's fine. That's not what I was concerned about. What I'm concerned about is this guy doing weird stuff, cause he gets raided by the come see. I want to show you. He gets like raided by the police, and he's like, the police were there, cause they thought we were running an illegal bank or an illegal insurance company. And it's like, oh, so you weren't doing that? And he's like, I founded a collaborative health insurance business. And it's like, that's what they were looking for.
Ausgestaltung ist so
But I
gewählt,
chose
dass
a
die
way in
BaFin
which the
nicht zuständig
authorities
ist.
are not responsible by law. But you see it's sounding sketchy. I was wondering how he made all this money for all this
Legst
land.
du Wert auf die Urteile der Bundesrepublik Deutschland?
Ja, lege ich sehr großen Wert. Das ist der gegenwärtige Machthaber auf diesem Gebiete. Und
Okay.
insofern sollte man sich auch mit diesen Machthabern arrangieren.
My man said we should at least come to terms with these people, but it sounds like he's on some sketchy. The White Wind said I just joined.
Bypass them, just be underneath their nose and be like, you don't know about this.
It does seem like that's kind of the plan. Also, it's good to see you, Whitewind. Kingdom of Prakal says I'm trying to DM AP. Ooh. Maki says Vice very heavy about their stuff. Sorry, I'm going back and looking at everything. Ooh, Maki said, you just saying about, hold up. Okay, it's part of the video. I'll talk to him on the server. Wait, what's happening? Oh, I'm so confused. Everybody's like saying they're gonna message me. What's happening? What? Uh-oh. Hold up. People are saying the stream is unavailable? Ooh, this is weird. Ooh, this is very weird. We're about to find out, I guess. Okay. People are saying the stream's unavailable, but there's still people watching. Can y'all like see this? Can you hear what's happening? I feel like it's because I showed a Vice article. I feel like I posted a Vice thing, and then they kicked it off. I feel like that's exactly what happened. But we will see in just a moment. Can you see it? Let me see at here. So there's a dilemma at the moment. So I said, I'm still on. Can y'all like see the stream? And I don't know if anybody can. They're sending me, let me open this up just in case the stream does end up getting saved. They're sending me this. Policy violations. Ooh, okay. So I straight up might have shown a Vice video, and then they're like, oh, you can't show a Vice video. But now there are 4 people watching. I'm very confused. Okay, I guess if the stream's unavailable, I'll end it and figure out what's happening, but that's weird. Let me just go to my straight up YouTube channel and see if I can I watch my own video? This is the question. But now there are 4 people watching. I'm very... Yeah, see? Yep. Okay, so I can watch my own video. There are 8 likes. Hey. Everybody jumped back in. Thank you, guys. Hey, I appreciate it. Why is it now all of a sudden back? What did they do? What actually happened? I'm very confused. Hey, fair enough. I appreciate everybody joining. Hey, thank you guys. I'm still trying to figure out what was happening. I see everybody messaging saying it's back, it's back. I appreciate it. Why did it get cut off? What did we do? What happened? What actually happened? They're saying because Vice is copyrighted. That's probably it. Yeah, okay. This is so dumb. Okay. I'm gonna... Gosh. See, okay. So, they couldn't find anything illegal. They left empty-handed. What's their products? This is where we have our technology center. This is where we handle a lot of tasks, he said. We want to create a showroom to exhibit all the products. One of which is in India. We import stones from there, for example. Oh shit, marble slabs. They're currently working. They're about to build the inside of a whole bunch of ice cream shops. There are currently about 25 people working here who give their best. Very nice. I'm a tool maker and a citizen in the Kingdom of Germany. That's very cool. Look at this guy. Okay. I don't consider myself part of the German Federal Republic. Did this guy dye his hair in between interview? Maybe not. Maybe that's his hair color. I thought the main guy like dyed his hair halfway through this interview. Maybe. Let's check it out. Let's see what his hair. No, it's pretty consistent, I think. Okay. So they're like, oh, we work sometimes 8 hours a day, sometimes more. He's showing him how he's cutting stuff on the CNC machine. What we're trying to provide here and today is to provide the people with a system that if people develop a personality and know their role. Oh, I'm jumping so hard. Then that's something that adds to their happiness. Nice. Okay. And jazz hands. Hey, everybody do jazz hands. Is it just me or does that person look like Joji? Right there. In the green with the... Anyway. Okay. Did you get a copyright strike too? If you did, you can't make ad money, says Percall. Yeah, I'm still very confused. Everybody's saying Vice must be copyright. Yeah, I'm still very confused as to why I can't use it during the live stream. Like, I feel like it's fine if they went afterward, hey, you got a copyright strike, so don't monetize the video. Like, you can't monetize the video. That's fine. I still just want the watch time hours from it. I just wanted to hang out with you guys and review Vice talking about micronations. This is really dumb. Why can't I criticize Vice and talk about Vice on the show? Like, it's not like we're just watching the Vice videos. I'm commentating over it. I don't understand why it's not free use. I learned that there are people in federal Germany that are not really a part of what?
Mitzubestimmen haben, was jetzt
Of the decision-making process with regards to legislation and other things. Yeah. Apartments, Kingdom of Germany. I have an apartment which I don't have to pay for. Hey, this is interesting. Nice. Lunch is included. I also get 200 angles as benefits. Interesting. So they have their own angels as benefits. They have their own currency called the angel, I guess. There's a printer in Leipzig which at times works for the government. Ooh, interesting. They have the opportunity to acquire monetary paper. Oh, these are the angels, I guess. Yep. Hey, there we go. 1 Engel. The citizens earn more than just pocket money. How is the state being financed? Hey, these are the great questions.
Wie wird sowas finanziert?
Ja, finanziert wird es
We're financed, for example, by the surplus our health insurance generates. My man. My man. The revenue that your health insurance generates that the government is like concerned about. I don't know if that's the direction you should keep going. Maybe that's why we haven't heard of them in 8 years. I'm gonna Google it after this and see what is up with them. We also use those funds to build new structures. We also hold seminars. Got you. So people are going to his seminars, paying for the seminars. He's being like, hey, here's this insurance thing if you want it. And then people are buying the insurance thing, and then he's making money off of that. I don't know how good a setup this is. What exactly is your function? Let's hear about it.
Meine Tätigkeit ist hauptsächlich
My role includes holding seminars, which we make into DVDs. Got you. So this is the thing that gets me about some people running micronations. I don't know. I feel like to a certain extent, yes, your micronation should be about like you and your interests and what you want. And I definitely think, especially in like Kevin Ball's case, like we just saw with Malasia, there is a lot of ways to do legitimate good for people and to have fun making things that are specifically designed for you to enjoy, to express your creativity, your independence. But then I feel like this guy's on kind of a different thing where he's like, yeah, I have all these people and all this support and stuff like that. We don't really have to make these like DVDs and all this like stuff because we also have this health insurance thing. But I'm still gonna like teach people. Like I need it to be a thing where I'm teaching these people and we're making money from my DVDs and my branding. It seems like he's enriching himself a lot off of it. But more so than that, I mean, enriching yourself off your own project and your own work, I guess is fine. It gets me more so that he's like, I don't know. he's becoming a pretty hard figurehead in it. I'm curious as to how people see him in his micronation, and I'm curious as to whether there is any like concern about his role in his micronation.
Die Seminartätigkeit.
I want to know what
Wir haben
happened with
beispielsweise DVDs produziert. Ich habe mal ein Buch geschrieben.
that. Also
Die
wrote a
Sachen
book. We sell copies of it. I also teach. Yeah, it sounds like it's like, so the majority of the money from our micronation comes from me teaching and me making these books and me doing these videos, and everybody makes the stuff that I have given, and then they spread it out. Yeah, so he's talking about like taxes. These events are quite pricey for participants. Yeah, so he's like, I just charge a lot per lecture, and then people come. If you asked for your rights and you knew your rights properly,
Ihre Rechte kennen würden, wirklich kennen
you
würden.
really knew your rights properly, there would be unbelievable opportunities. Oh yeah? Well, then why did people have to come and pay a whole bunch of money for this thing that they may have been able to Google because they're just their rights? You could reach the same kind of freedom I have. I feel like that sounds like a multi-level marketing thing gimmick, but okay. I'm calling them out really hard. I don't know the Kingdom of Germany. Maybe they're doing great right now and is killing it, and I'm wrong. But it looks a little concerning, at least from a financial standpoint. There's standard procedure for people interested in coming here. Because think about this: if your whole nation's economy is based off of what you create and what you produce as the monarch, if you die or like if something happens, that sucks for all those people who have been depending on like the primary driver of their economy being your production. I feel like that puts people in a very precarious situation. With smaller micronations, like our micronation has a lot of support and has a lot of people behind it, but nobody is depending, even the monarch, even myself, I'm not depending 100% on the Empire of Aeternia to survive. Whereas I feel like there are people within the state, within New Germany, that are legitimately trying, or at least were legitimately trying to depend on New Germany to survive, to live, to make a future for themselves, to grow. And so that's my concern, is that I hope they aren't putting their people in a situation where they're just going to get screwed over at some point. Ooh. Ooh, I'm looking back at comments. Manu said, AP, place some shape on the video and mute it. Maybe that'll work. Oh, y'all are trying to trick the algorithm. Y'all are like, maybe we can just put like a trapezoid on screen and see if we can throw it off. The Glorious Empire of White One says, a $50,000 fine is fine. Oh, goodness. Everybody's just jumping in on different stuff. Where'd the $50,000 thing come from? White One says, my dad just needs to stay out for 2 weeks so we can get... Ooh, goodness. I hope y'all are doing alright out there. I appreciate you guys jumping in the comments, and it means a lot to hear.
zeigen im Prinzip, was alles da ist.
Oh, that one just didn't give subtitles at all. Okay. During the trial week, we test to see if what they say aligns with how they act. Okay, so now they're bringing in like the new recruits. They're like, okay, these are all the people who came from the... Once they get intrigued, once they get to know us and become intrigued, there's a trial week. Well, during the trial week, we test to see how what they say aligns with how they act. Then they have a future here. We have quite a huge premises here. Yep, it seems like it. Now let's have a look at the pyrolysis facility. Yeah, so they're just burning their trash. Let's see. This facility lets us utilize our garbage on a small scale. Yep. So this pyrolysis facility turns what used to be oil and then became plastic back into oil. Any questions? Alright, have a look around. Then let's go on. It feels like we're watching a comic book now, because it's like we have to change panels and then read the thing. Every wolf pack, every group of deer, and any larger group of organisms organizes itself, adjusting to one individual who sets the agenda. I think there are plenty of social scientists and plenty of political scientists who would disagree with this man, saying all organisms just collectively crowd under one organism. No, I don't. Not all. I think it's more complex than that. And if this individual enjoys everybody's trust, then what? Then what? And if those values are to be pursued, then great. You have to goose step right behind me. Okay, let's go. What happens when the wise leader fails? This is the question. Yeah, because he is kind of getting everybody in the mindset of like, follow me, which is cool, but let's see what his
Dann müssen alle dafür bluten. Das ist das Schlimme.
Yeah, okay, so this guy, when people ask him like, yeah, so what about if it fails and it goes bad? He's like, yeah, then everyone's screwed, I guess. That's just fine. Yeah, everybody's just done. That sucks. And then they're like, are you wise? And he's like, yeah, I'm wise. I don't think that I'm super wise, but I'm wise, yeah. Something represents my morals, then I'll do it. The opportunities are here, and now we need people to fill them with life and action. That's cool. Very different. Everybody's very different.
Vertreten, dann tue ich es einfach.
We got guy in the suit right up front, teacher's pet. We got the more chill guy who's in a blazer, but it looks like he's in a button-up shirt, green one, over to the left of the main leader guy. We have guy in a yellow shirt and a black jacket, far left, who's chilling. We have lady in essentially my outfit, furthest left. I respect her style. I can't say anything about that. We got guy who's the older gentleman who's in the sweater, kind of mid-right, who's looking like he's setting up for a golf game, and his son behind him in the white, who also was coming for a golf game. We got far right guy over here who's bald with the mustache, who's like in a jean jacket and jean pants, who looks like he's gearing up for like a biker rally or something. This is interesting. This is an interesting, diverse group of people. He has gathered truly people from all over the world.
Die Möglichkeiten sind da. Jetzt braucht sie Menschen, die diese Dinge füllen, mit Leben füllen.
There's a kid. What's he doing there?
Mit
Maybe that's one of
Tätigkeit
the people who live
Ohne
there.
Menschen kann ich ja gar
Without people, there's nothing I can do here. So it's through my faith in humanity that I acquire these things, so they can be filled with life. You're telling me that's not just increasing your investment? Like, you're telling me that's not just doing what you would do to try and make money in a business? Prakal says, AP, the $50,000 fine came from the glorious Empire of Whitewind, saying, screw you to not lock down and go out and have fun. It's my birthday tomorrow and I asked for ideas. The PER is going fiat in 12 months from now. First off, congrats on the PER going fiat. Also, don't break lockdown stuff. Not good. Not a good idea. If your country or your state or whatever has lockdown stuff, respect that. It's for people's health and well-being. Then it's like a really happy like tour guide thing. Come on this way, gang. I see that if I grow it into it, this will be pioneer work. And then all the people are like, wonderful product review. This is the best thing I've ever seen. What's up? What?
Right?
What?
The units fair ads are
Correct. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you too. Hello all Eternian people and newcomers.
Is Tiff. Did you hear me talk about your beautiful drawing?
For like a moment, I'm doing chores.
It's really good. I'm gonna drink my hot cocoa. I think everybody gets hooked on his ponytail. That's the thing. That's exactly what it is. And you can't say that it's not. That man has the ponytail. They film it while he walks away. Yeah, he knows. The future hospital looks scary. I'm sorry. If you're gonna bring Vice into the future hospital, make it look nice. Come on, mop the floor. What? I get that it's like it's not there yet, and they're doing stuff. I would be super impressed if the Kingdom of New Germany actually gets like a legitimate functioning hospital that can help people. I hope it doesn't only cover their insurance plan though, because that seems really sketchy. But I hope they do well. He says we will build the health house in the long run. Ooh, but it won't be as big as a regular hospital. Health house does not sound like hospital. I hope this health house has doctors and not health people in it.
Langfristig aufbauen. Wir werden es aber nicht so groß machen,
They can call
wie ein
healers.
Krankenhausbetrieb ist.
No, we need doctors.
Das war
We
auch mal
need
ein
medical
richtig herzliches
professionals.
Dialyse.
This was a dialysis center. Okay, so yeah, are y'all gonna like help with dialysis again? That may be needed.
Zentrum. Und wir haben eben viel gestaltet.
We have changed it quite a bit so it can have multiple functions. Okay, that's good. And once we open our school here, the rooms will already be prepared. Whoa. Are they doing like the school is the training sessions that people pay like a whole bunch of money for? Or are they like the school is for kids who live here? Maybe that kid from the thing earlier? I don't know. It would be one kid. These rooms used to be operating rooms. Okay, what are they going to be
Wir haben ja
now?
früher Operationssäle. Wir haben in unserer Art Gesundheit.
In our health house, we were not planning on performing surgeries. Cool, so not doctors then. Well, you can still have doctors without having surgery.
Gesundheitshaus nicht vor, Menschen aufzuschneiden und zu operieren, sondern wir würden lieber an den Ursachen mit den Menschen
We would much rather work on the causes.
Sodass die Menschen
So that
aufzuschneiden.
surgery won't be necessary. That's good, but people need surgery. They have learned how to stay healthy. What? Man, it's not always... What? If people in federal Germany learned self-healing techniques and had a better dietary education, there wouldn't be as many sick people. I don't know about that. Our system is unique.
Ich habe jetzt seit
This guy, I will say this. Okay, he looks like he's standing outside of a church, which again is really throwing me. But he has unique clothing. Like, I haven't seen him wear anything that looks hella normal yet. He has been on some interesting clothing kick this whole time. Also, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys jumping in. Everybody's saying it's down again. Hold on, let me check it. Is it back again? Like, is it down again? Let me look. Okay. I'm gonna jump back into our own video again in the hope that it's back. Okay, we got 9 likes too. Thank you guys. Oh, it did. It did kick it again. Oh no. Hey, thank you, Prakal. I appreciate that. Dang. Is it back again? Like, is it down again? Let me look. Okay, so I just have to keep it paused, apparently. Because whenever I jump in, it'll do it. This is so dumb. Okay. I have not been insured for 18 years now, not even when I had a severe car accident. So why are you telling other people to get insured? I'm so confused by this man. Okay. He's constantly got the intense eye contact. I can never get a frame where this man is blinking. So I decided that I didn't want that, and I started working on myself as a child. A matter of choice. Ooh, what? Hold up. What's a matter of choice? Is physical disability a matter of choice? You saw your mother physically disabled. She had infantile paralysis when she was 6. Are you saying you can control that? And then he just pans? Like, ooh, and then there's a close-up of the Buddha. I gathered many experiences throughout my life that showed me. I've had encounters with creatures that most people wouldn't be able to see. Unfortunately, I can't see them myself, but I've had a girlfriend who can. Because my surroundings have started to deal with subjects in depth. If my surroundings had been different, if I had a sheltered childhood, where I got everything that a normal child gets, then I wouldn't be as strong as I am today. My man was neglected. Oh, goodness. At some point, I started beating up the people who picked on me. Oh, goodness. Then I started beating them up preemptively so that they wouldn't even dare. He's like, I started out the runts of the litter, always getting last pick. Then I started beating everyone just on principle. And then I was fine. That's a horrible lesson. What are you doing, dude? He's like, stand up for yourself. And also just beat everyone. Just beat everyone.
Dazu kommt.
God, so everyone became scared of me and I learned how to control through fear. Then I found out about an alternative way. Control through insurance. Oh, no. And I carefully decide what I allow them to do and what I don't. Ooh, is this for his people in his country? I control every thought I have, every emotion, every action. Okay. I observe very carefully what those bodies do. What that body do. This guy. He says everything in such a concerning way. He could be the most honest, trustworthy, well-intentioned person. Some of the things he says. To develop or sweep away the old systems. I'm jumping really hard. Sometimes I'm scared that humans will choose war again. Ooh, he knows to be against war. That's one point. He didn't have any points so far, but that's one point. That carefully allow them to do and not to do is very concerning. Vice definitely does, like, kind of get... I feel like get people's narrative and slice it up a little bit. To me, they are all like grown children. I love them, so it would hurt me. What? That's something I don't wish for the majority of humans. To me, they are all like grown children. I love them. There's always the fate of people who are ahead of their times. See, though, stop that. Stop saying you're ahead of your time. It's not an easy life, and at times it's not a pleasant life either. Yeah, you're in that factory by yourself, my guy. Where's your homies? It's always been a small amount of people or individuals. That's fair. That's like a micronation. Who served to further develop humankind. But there were elected leaders in German history who abused their power and dragged people into the abyss. Yes. Ooh, now they're talking about Hitler. I don't know why. What? Oh, so now they have a lot of stuff. Damn, state chancellery. My man has a lot of stuff. Who embraced death and be victorious and not can be harmed. And then they show the Kingdom of Germany. Hey, okay. So we got through that one. I want to figure out what happened to the Kingdom of Germany. I straight up do. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me jump in real quick. Because I want to figure out who the kingdom... What are they doing? Excuse me. The Kingdom of Germany. Hey, it's a Wikipedia. Nope. Kingdom of New Germany? Is that it? Okay, Kingdom of Germany. What was that guy's name? Peter Fitzik. Peter Fitzik. Kingdom of Germany will accept your bank deposits now. Ooh, in 2020. Okay, so he's still doing stuff. Self-styled king of Germany sentenced to almost 4 years. Far-right cult. Okay. Whole bunch of stuff. Let's read it. DW. Self-styled king of Germany sentenced to almost 4 years in prison. The man calling himself king of Germany has been sentenced for embezzling over €1 million from his subjects. Yep, he set up his own bank, spending depositors' funds for his own purpose. Yep. The judge Wednesday's verdict ruled that self-proclaimed King of Germany had an illegal banking operation between 2009 and 2013 in which he effectively stole over €1 million in deposited funds. The 51-year-old, whose real name is Peter Fitzek, had convinced almost 600 people to deposit a total of €1.7 million in his supposed bank. The prosecution had accused him of spending around €1.3 million for his own purposes, charges the king denied. When ruling was read out in court, Fitzek, who calls himself Peter I, erupted into a violent rage, launching insults at the judge. Oh no. Yep, and then they have the Vice article. Oh no. And then they're like, he has ties to like a Nazi thing too. Oh no. They refuse to pay taxes, have their own ID cards. Oh, interesting. Hold up. I actually want to go back to that. Because it's... passports have declared their own small territories, such as the Second German Empire and the Free State of Prussia. However, while easily dismissed as crash part, yep, they have a Nazi ideology. Also, many are believed to be heavily armed. Shot a policeman dead in Bavaria. Oh, goodness. Okay, so yeah, it seems like this guy is almost like the people who call themselves like sovereign citizens and stuff. Like, it seems like almost that sort of thing with like a Nazi tint on it, which is concerning and like illegal banking. It seems very sketchy. This man went to jail over it. This is concerning. Okay. This guy. All right, let's jump into somewhere else. We've got Republic of Molossia, Kingdom of Germany, Transnistria, the tiny oppressive state that wants to join Russia. Let's check this out. Okay, Western pundits have described the autonomous region of Moldova as the next Crimea, but is Russia really about to invade? Ooh. A tank movement in Transnistria. Yes, she says, handing over a copy of the local paper. I like it here in Tiraspol. Making quote marks in the air in her fingers. Then the young woman I've been interviewing shuts up. A van has pulled up. A couple in suits have gotten out, and some unnamed threat is hanging in the air. Everyone on the street is staring at me and my guide, so we leave to catch the next bus out of Transnistria. I can't help thinking we're getting out in the nick of time. Oh, goodness. Tensions are running high in Transnistria, locally known as Pridnestrovie, a quasi-communist unrecognized state that straddles Moldova and Ukraine. Oh, this is interesting. I actually haven't heard of this one. On Wednesday, the day I arrived, it was reported that Russian soldiers had recently carried out military maneuvers there, sparking further speculation in the Western media that the region will be the next Crimea. Oh, goodness. Another victim of Vladimir Putin's sudden desire to put the Soviet Union back together. So, Transnistria region, it's all right here. So, check out the map. We have the capital of Moldova right here, and then we have this little cut-off area. I'm not sure if that's a river. It looks like that might be a river. Yep, Dnestr. I hope I pronounced that even close to right. Yep. Ribnita, Tiraspol, yep. Okay, so they're right on the border, and this is all that land that's cutting really close to Ukraine. Okay, to the Ukraine. Tiraspol is a bumpy hour and a half drive from Chisinau, Moldova's dying capital. It's a flat, sprawling city of 130,000 that looks every bit the Soviet throwback, from tanks and battered trolley buses to statues of what looks like Lenin posing as Batman. That's funny. The region's green and red flag still bears the hammer and sickle, and the parliament building, a hideous deep red lesson in brutalist architecture, is called the Supreme Soviet. It's a quiet but pleasant enough town on the surface. Open-air markets are thronged with old people selling everything from gas lamps to second-hand undies. Oh, goodness. Beyond the rows of old junk is a part containing a giant statue of Alexander Suvorov, the Russian who founded Tiraspol in 1792, and a billboard that roughly translates, "Urge Tiraspolians to love your city, whatever." A plastic yellow toy train carries kids along the banks of the Dniester River, which separates Transnistria from Moldova, the nation it officially belongs to. Interesting. There are 2 discos in town, but there's not much to do. Fair enough. Though Transnistria is not a recognized nation, it's been long forgotten by Moldova, itself a poor country still struggling to cope with the fall of the USSR. Transnistria was incorporated into Russia in the early 20th century when it was deemed part of the Soviet Ukraine, later the Moldovan Soviet Socialist Republic. While Moldova remained agrarian and exported fruit, Transnistria became an industrial hub and attracted workers from the east who spoke Russian. This is an interesting thing. So what it seems like they're setting up is the concept where, Manu said it's a de facto state. Yeah, it definitely seems like it. It seems like they're setting up this situation where they're like, yeah, so, oh gosh, I gotta look back at how to spell it. Transnistria is a country that pretty much people just forgot about, which honestly sucks if you're the people there. That seems really rough because there isn't a lot of opportunity. Can you keep that for me, please? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll put it right there. Yup, you're right. So it's interesting because it seems like people kind of forgot about this place, and it seems like there's a lot of poverty there, so it's really rough for the people who live there, but it seems like they have the opportunity then to sort of make something unique themselves. Their area, their town, seems to be very, very proud of its history, and it seems like they are very interested in supporting themselves as their own kind of identity. I don't understand. Kingdom of Prakal said, "Be back." Good to see you, Prakal. I don't understand why there isn't more investment into that area, at least, especially since it's an industrial hub, and most of the other places around there they said were agriculture primarily. I imagine the issue there, the catch-22, is that the more valuable you make that area, the more that places like Russia and Ukraine, who could absolutely stomp on Moldova, would want it. And so it's a thing where it's like, yeah, all of Moldova's poor, and so is Transnistria. But if we make Transnistria like an industrial hub in Moldova, and Moldova starts getting rich from it, Ukraine will easily try and grab it. Russia will easily try and grab it. It'll be a larger problem than people think. And it looks like even without too much industry there, Russia's already trying to grab it. So let's keep reading. Let's see what this is all about. Oh, we got that straight up ad from Vice, like we got their copyright strike earlier. Today, those factories remain, providing Transnistria with the bulk of its proclaimed $1 billion GDP. Though in reality, Russia props up the Transnistrian economy by providing it with billions of dollars in subsidies, including a scheme in which Russia buys gas for a Transnistrian company, then sells the gas and keeps the profit. Oh, that's sketchy. According to the Warsaw-based Center for Eastern Studies, Transnistria is almost completely devoid of any of the internal prerequisites necessary for economic growth. The economy is controlled by the state, there are almost no small businesses, and a lack of good jobs have caused young people to immigrate en masse. So essentially they're like, oh, I see the Batman. I got him. So yeah, they're like, okay, so nobody here wants to be here. Everybody's leaving. The entire economy is controlled by the state, so much so that when you go to the gas station and you try and buy gas, or wherever this gas company is, that Russia's had their fingers in. Once you go to buy gas there, you know the gas that's coming from Russia, you're paying this gas company, but then the profits are going back to Russia as well, so you're helping the people employed who may be from your area in that gas company, but if the majority of them are Russian too, then it's like, well, not getting a ton of help, I guess. That's brutal. That's really brutal. Okay. Hey, 3 viewers. Percol said, be back, there's a power cut, I'm chatting using data. I appreciate you, Percol. Thank you so much for dedicating your time to hanging out with us, and also thank you for giving your time even when you're like in a situation. Please let me know how things are going. I hope the power gets on back very soon for you, and I hope that the Kingdom of Percol remains steady of faith and strong in its pursuit of its goals through such a trying time. Okay, so we're going to continue to look back at this. Then there's smuggling. Okay, so they're like, now this group also has oh no, human trafficking. No, and weapons. Oh no. It's just a really rough area. This looks so happy and sad at the same time. It's like it looks like a Christmas ad, kind of. I really don't know. Oh no, brutal. Okay. As we're leaving, we meet a young Moldovan soldier, Vasily, in the truck stop town of Bindri. Yeah, that's fine. That sounds good. No, that's fine. Thank you. Yes, please. Check the back. Yeah, you see those? Yeah, those are important. Thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, that's perfect. No, I don't need the wires. No, if you tear them off, I'll actually strip them and melt them down. What's up? Okay, thank you. Most pundits, hold up. He says they're too occupied with Crimea to think about the conflict in Transnistria. Transnistria. Everything is calm, he says, smiling. But everything isn't calm. Most pundits and most of the local expect Russia to continue to push west. And while that push won't likely reach Transnistria for a while, the consensus in Chisinau and Tiraspol is that it's only a matter of time. As Fyodor bluntly put it, we were expecting the Russians to take Crimea. Soon Ukraine will be cut in half, only a matter of time. Crimea, Odessa, they won't take Transnistria yet, though, later. Interesting. So, that sucks for the people there. I don't know what it means, though, for that place being a little tiny, like, independent state. It seems like Vice covers micronations in everything from, like, there's Kevin Vaugh of Malaysia who's doing his own, like, independent thing, to, like, there's this guy in Germany who's doing, like, insurance scam Nazi stuff. And then they're also, like, and also there's this town in Moldova that's so poor and dying that it's nobody wants it, and so it can be considered its own thing, but also people do want it. Russia's actively, like, controlling it in the background. There's a lot to micronationalism that I feel like people don't fully talk about all the time. And it's something where it depends on how large your scope, your consideration of what a micronation is. I would say I wouldn't consider this place Transnistria. I wouldn't call Transnistria a micronation simply because they don't declare themselves a micronation. They're a part of Moldova that's being essentially assimilated by Russia, which sucks because I would love it if there was a micronation there who's like, no, we're our own thing. We consider ourselves our own thing. This is what we support. Yeah, but it seems like that's not the case. It doesn't seem like they are specifically wanting independence. So that being the case, I would say that the other two I consider micronations, but I consider the Kingdom of Germany as something dangerous. I would say the Kingdom of Germany seems to show a lot of success. Like, they're like, yeah, we have all of this infrastructure and all of this money and all of these places for people to live and work. It's like, yeah, but in the course of like 10 years, they scammed people out of like $1 million and then used it for like personal goods. And the reason I say scammed people, that can be also a point of contention. He specifically said, your money is supposed to be for this. Your money is supposed to be for this bank, right? All you're doing is depositing money into a bank, which if you deposit money into a bank in your local town or whatever, if you go to somewhere that is verified with the FDIC, in the U.S. In other countries, you have other standards for banking regulation. But in the U.S., it's the FDIC. If you go to an FDIC-regulated bank, you can give them your money for a deposit if you start a checking or savings account, and you will have that money in there all the time. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that the money, that money that you put in, that $20 or $100 or whatever, that you put in, is going to be physically there, like your bill, your exact, if you took a $100 bill and you gave it to them, that $100 bill would sit right there in that bank account. It's more so, because they will use that money to invest in other things and do that, it's more so that they have enough money to make sure that at any point, if you want to withdraw your money, they have the ability to give it to you. They have to do that in order to make sure that they can operate as a federally insured and supported bank, an official bank, and also to make sure that they can make profit. That's how banks go about their business. This person started a bank that was illegal, it sounds like, in the Kingdom of Germany, and as well did something that was purposefully outside of the interests of his bank. I'm not sure if he even got any like official documentation for starting a bank and doing stuff like that. It seems like he was trying to like sovereign citizen find loophole ways around it, which is concerning. But it cost a lot of people money, it sounds like. Like, it sounds like all those people that we saw in the video where you see the group of people standing behind him and him saying, you know, we're all ready to work and we're all ready to get things started. It seems like those people were all victims, losing a significant amount of money on supporting him. And there were people that we saw who were saying like, yeah, well, I don't have to pay rent for this house. All I have to do is come and work and I will pay, and he'll give me 200 ingles for my work or whatever, 200 angels for my work, which is more than enough. And I get food and everything else. But those people, I imagine, were very, very few and far between. Maybe a couple people to help him like maintain his operation. I imagine they were significantly overworked because they said sometimes we work 8 hours, sometimes we work more. So I imagine what happened is those people were overworked. They weren't paid in German dollars. They were paid in these angels. Maybe some German dollars were paid to them. Some currency that they could use outside of that. But I think they were set up into a position where they either didn't realize or didn't have any power to change the fact that they were taking money from these people's investment into a different business that was then getting funneled to them to try and make this thing start for them. Instead of having, because when I saw the video initially about the Kingdom of Germany, I thought like, when we were watching it a second ago, I thought, wow, they have all this infrastructure. They must have some seriously successful businesses. Like maybe that angel store or whatever was super successful in Germany and I just didn't know about it. It's not. I'm almost certain that it's not. It seems like this guy took all the investments people gave him to start one very specific business and then just spread it around to all of his other business and personal interests. It seems like that's what he went to jail for, and that's very concerning. I would not support the Kingdom of New Germany in any, or the Kingdom of Germany or whatever, in any degree. That sounds really terrible. Hot Shots Mockup says, am I the only one who thinks he sounds goodness? I hope not. I've been trying to do my best internet voice, my best presentation appearance. But that's I guess hard, because you can balance like professionalism with how sincere you sound and how personally relaxed you sound, and I think that's a little bit tough for me. So I'm working on it. Make sure to know, Hotshot, next time you come back to this channel, I may have improved, but I'll have to take that judgment from you. Manu says euros. Thank you very much. I said German dollars. Euros. Manu is 100% correct. Whitewind says yes. You're the only one. The only one that what? 27 Kyle says hi. Hello, 27 Kyle. Amazing Connor says, sorry if I get disconnected. I have no power and mom is leaving soon. Good luck with everything. It looks like you might have just actually gotten logged out. It's good to see you. I wish you well. I want to continue to talk real quick then about the rest of these nations that Vice has. I actually want to switch screens, jump back to here to look at these different nations that Vice talks about. Because it does seem like they're covering a lot. I know they cover Molossia again, but I do want to see all their stuff. Okay. So, a Czech libertarian has declared a new micronation in the Balkans. Liberland. Liberland, actually, I think Vice was one of the bigger things that got Liberland on the map. Maybe not. Sure, they have videos of them going and getting arrested and stuff trying to cross the Balkans, but still trying to cross the Serbia and Croatia, but still it's I think Vice was one of the larger outlets to cover them pretty quickly after they started doing the stuff. Liverpolis is the capital of Liberland, which I actually didn't know about. Earlier this week, a Czech citizen named Vet Jedlica declared the creation of a new libertarian micronation on the small plot of unclaimed land between Croatia and Serbia. The Republic of Liberland, as Jedlica calls his new territory, lies on 2.7 square miles of land between Serbia and Croatia, on the western bank of the Danube River in what is known as the Gornja Siga region, which lays unclaimed as the two neighboring nations continue to hash out a long-standing border dispute. Okay, so that's the thing that also gets me. Vid Jedlica is like, okay, so I claim this land because Serbia and Croatia haven't claimed it. Serbia doesn't claim it, and Croatia doesn't claim it, so I claim it. But that's such an interesting way to go about it. Like, I hope Liberland legitimately ends up with some success for what they're trying to do, because out of many micronations and their attempts to take land from other nations, which I don't feel like is the right strategy to go about developing your micronation, but that's a topic for another time. With that category of micronationalism, I think Liberland has one of the most substantial claims, and I think and one of the most airtight claims. Still not a great claim. I think trying to take any property from any nation is already going to be a tough enough thing, and I don't think it's a super likely thing to happen. Secessionist movements, and I wouldn't call this a secessionist movement necessarily, because they would argue that the property is unclaimed, but secessionist movements have very similar vibes in the sense that they want to take something that's already being used by another country and establish it for themselves. Liberland is in a different scenario where this place isn't claimed, but still you have to wonder, what is it that Serbia and Croatia have been fighting over for this land for so long? Because it's not that it's unclaimed in the sense that nobody wants it. They both want it, which is why it's unclaimed. It'd be kind of like if you saw two siblings fighting over like the last piece of cake, and so then you walk in and you eat the piece of cake. That seems like the best way to piss off both of your neighbors. and to not actually have the dispute settled. It just seems like you're jumping yourself into the dispute. But because of how much smaller you are, it seems like it's not going to be super effective. It's like if two siblings were fighting over the last piece of cake, and you're like a fly that like lands on the cake, and you're like, it's my cake now, right, guys? And they're like, no, it's still, I don't know. Then the question becomes for the two siblings, are you still going to eat the cake after the fly landed on it? And I think that's kind of what Serbia and Croatia are looking at now, is essentially like, well, we're claiming it's not his. They're like, we're arresting him. It's not Liberland's, but it still hasn't pushed them closer to a border resolution, which is, again, interesting thing. Although Jedlička, a 31-year-old leader of the Czech Republic's Libertarian Party of Free Citizens with a moderate Facebook following. What's moderate? Are they going to be like a moderate Facebook following? It's going to be like 4 million people. Has done little more than raise a flag and make a declaration. He's already invited people from around the world to apply for citizenship, digital or residential, by sending him an email with a scan of any photo ID and a cover letter explaining their desire to join him in his libertarian utopia. See, that's crazy. Digital or residential. So they would set up to reside in the homestead of Liberland, which would be this island between Serbia and Croatia, which again, neither of them are happy to give up to Liberland. So then the question now is, well, are these people going to be able to live with Jedlička? Or are these people going to have to wait until the potential for this to get finished? These are the great questions. Let me see. Okay. The goal of the founder of the new state is to create a society in which honest people can prosper without having the state make their life difficult with unnecessary restrictions and taxes. I don't know about all that. One of the reasons for the establishment of Liberland is the increasing influence of interest groups on the functioning of the states and worsening living conditions. Libertarianism. It's supporting libertarianism. The nation has a flag and coat of arms, currently uses Czech, Hungarian, and Serbo-Croatian as its official languages. Interesting. Although citizenship is theoretically open to anyone who respects libertarian ideas about personal freedom and private ownership, Liberland will not accept applications from present or past communists, Nazis, or any who deem to have an unacceptable criminal past. The thing that's interesting is that communists are lumped in with Nazis and criminals. Like, Nazi, I completely understand. Criminals, I feel like it should depend on what the crime is. They say an unacceptable criminal past, so let's say violent crime. Nazis, violent criminals. Okay. Communists? The communism thing is just like, we don't want it to not be a libertarian thing anymore. Because I think that's something that a lot of people search for in smaller communities, is a community that is going to directly support them and enable equity for them. Enable something that returns them value and gives them interest and makes them richer. And the difficulty with a libertarian society, or at least the libertarian society that it seems Liberland is setting up, is that they are promoting libertarianism. They are promoting this idea of no taxation. They're promoting this idea of supporting private business as a way to kickstart an economy and to support all these people coming over. But it doesn't seem like that helps any individual besides people who are already coming in wealthy and ready to invest. If you have a ton of money already, if you've already been successful in other ventures, let's say you own Amazon, let's say it's Jeff Bezos, right? And Jeff Bezos says, I'm joining Liberland. Okay, so Jeff Bezos is already very rich. He can join Liberland, he can have his business set up through Liberland and have, if Liberland were able to be completely independent, would have a lot of leeway as far as paying taxes, as far as things that would cause any hampering on his own self-enrichment. But that doesn't actually help the greater Liberlandian society. That puts a lot of the people who would come in, who would be poorer, who would be in less lucrative situations, to be almost roadblocked from joining. Now, there could be people with special talents that they say, hey, you can come for free, don't worry about it, we'll pay for everything you need to live here and work here. But even still, that doesn't seem like a huge population. It seems like if Liberland were to get off the ground and to start and to run into what it's trying to get to, what its theory is behind the way that its nation should work, it seems like it would leave a nation of either only wealthy people who are trying to sustain models for their own success, or it would be people who are wealthy who are then kind of taking advantage of people who are poorer in that nation, because there is no defense for them. There is no way for them to be protected from absolutely just rampant capitalistic endeavor. Just to the extent of, if you don't have any sort of regulation, if you don't have anything protecting somebody from these private businesses, then somebody who goes to Liberland, like Jeff Bezos, who's already had issues with Amazon not paying their workers enough, not supporting enough off time for their workers, not giving their workers like bathroom breaks, things that are putting the health and safety of those people at risk, to have even more leeway doing that and to be able to make an even larger profit doing that. So they could say, hey, we're going to give you $2 an hour for your work. You have to work a 20-hour shift. Not saying that they would do that, but it's something that's possible under their design. Yep. Oh, yeah. Thank you. So yeah, I feel like that's my personal concern with Liberland. I want to know more about Liberland. I would actually love to interview someone from Liberland, because I haven't been able to follow a ton of their stuff, but I think it would be important to hear out those ideas for ourselves. Now, again, I feel like that's my personal concern with it. You guys should all do your own, fact-checking and researching, but I feel like Liberland has some kinks that it still needs to work out, least of which is dealing with its actual practical residents, even though that's a concern that I just brought up. More so currently dealing with its border dispute, and again claiming land, which makes it a very, very interesting nation to talk about, because its land territory, its claim, is so heavily disputed a border anyway. It draws a lot of attention to that nation, but doesn't necessarily make them have any sort of viable claim. He recently told Time he's received 20,000 citizenship applications and expects that number to jump to 100,000 by week's end, with some people offering to relocate immediately. Jedlicka plans to accept just 3,000 to 5,000 applications and aims for a national population of 35,000 in the future, not all of whom will live on site full-time. It started out a little bit like a protest, Jedlicka told Time, but now it's really turning out to be a real project with support. It's worth noting that the 1933 Montevideo Convention on Rights and Duties of States, the basic smell test for whether one has a claim on sovereignty, requires that independent entities have a permanent population, defined territory, established government, and the capacity to enter into relations with other states, only one of which Liberland now has. Permanent population, defined territory, established government, capacity to enter into relations with other states. So they're saying they have a defined territory now. They don't have the permanent population, they don't have the established government, they don't have the capacity to enter relations into other states. And I think this is from a few years ago, so I'm sure now they have all those other things checkmarked to some degree, but the permanent population I feel like is hard with where they define their territory, because that's what the UN, that's what the Montevideo Convention, that's what people around the world are going to be looking at. You say your nation is in Serbia and Croatia. How many on this island between Serbia and Croatia? How many people live on that island between Serbia and Croatia that consider themselves your citizens? 0. Oh, okay. Well, that's why is that? Because everyone keeps getting arrested every time they try and go there. Well, it seems like they've set up a great eye-catching appeal for their nation, but have then caused a catch-22. They've caused a problem with their own design. They've caused a large glaring flaw in their own development plan. And so then the question is, would they be willing to change, and have they, in the past few years, have they changed where their land claim is? Because I feel like if you change the land claim, then there are a whole bunch of people who are going to jump off of supporting you, because it's like, well, we started this originally for it to be about Serbia and Croatia, and to be about this island in between, and that was really what we thought it was going to be, so that's where I signed up to go and live, and now they've changed where they're going to be at, so I don't know if I support it anymore, I don't know if it's the same thing. But on the flip side, if you never do that, and you always keep it as we're going to get this island in between Serbia and Croatia, eventually people are going to realize that that's incredibly difficult, and that you'd have to have large amounts of funding to be able to face legal battles on an international scale, being at the UN, giving, your claim for this right and all that, before you even have a full right to it. So that doesn't seem like it's a very practical situation. You need to create industries. You need to create groups of people who are able to fund themselves and to continue growing that support for your nation in a place that can easily be the home for your nation. So I think their claim is one of the hardest, actually, in micronationalism, specifically because they do not have a good way to justify that claim. The population can't be there because their land is occupied by other nations. Not only to the point where it is, in larger societal context known that is controlled by these other nations, it is also to such a degree that it is actively enforced that their population cannot be there. It is something that is like I've looked into the island before, I need to look into it again, or peninsula or whatever it is, but it's I think just like a facility. Like, it's a place that doesn't really have a lot of infrastructure on it because it has a border dispute actively ongoing in it. And so it's this issue where you can't get support for that land. There's no way. If you decide as a person of your own free will, if you decide, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to start my own country in the park down the street from my house. Well, you're a citizen of the country that you live in, more than likely. So if you go and start a micronation in the park down the street from your house, there's very little likelihood that anybody is going to tell you to leave the public park. Your citizenship, your population can stay there. That is something that, even though there is a larger societal viewpoint that, hey, this larger country, this macronation actually owns and controls that park, that you are able to have a population there, and if your claim is, hey, we own this park, that's still more claim than Liberland has, I feel, simply because there is no way for them to justify their land claim without having a permanent population. I think one of the unspoken rules of the Montevideo Convention, and this is, again, another opinion piece that I feel like people will have to discuss more in the comments, is that I think the way that those check marks are achieved is not first you get the land and then you get the population. It's we verify whether or not you have a land claim by having that permanent population there. If you say, hey, this place, like the, there are so many, I'm trying to think of the example that I wanted to think of a second ago. The Kurds. If you look in the Middle East and you look at the Kurdish people, they have been on that land for thousands of years. The Kurdish people have been around for a very, very long time, self-identifying and being on the same piece of land. So even though, and I forget which country it is, so please inform me, everybody, in the comments of which country I am talking about or attempting to talk about. But the Kurdish people have been on their land for a long time, and even though that land has come under claim of multiple different countries before it has always been something that the Kurdish people have self-identified with. So I think based on the Montevideo Convention, if there was enough international support for the Kurds, I would say that that's the way that they would look at it. They would say, this has been a group that self-identifies for a long time and has been on this land for a long time, so therefore they have this right to claim the land. But if you say, well, we just saw this land that other people were already living on and working with, or we saw this land that was already controlled by another group, and then we threw our population onto there, it would take a long time, I think, of solidifying your people's history and their presence in that region to justify on an international scale some sort of movement for their sovereignty and their independence. So I think for that way of going about it, doing that reverse, is really hard to do. I would say in another way, a better way to do it would just be to go and build your own land. Whether that be at sea, whether that be in space, whether that be, out in the middle of the desert even with, people going out into just barren wasteland, places like, the middle of the desert in Arizona, people going out to, places in the Middle East, and claiming land in areas where there is nobody actively living and starting to put a population there and starting to grow that. That's cool, because even if it is controlled by a larger nation, you're still defining the population there. You're still saying, well, nobody lived here before, we live here, we identify differently, there is some valid basis for what we're saying. We all identify this way, we all want to self-govern this way. Who are you to tell us otherwise? And that, I feel like, is a harder legal claim to dispute than one where you simply say, hey, we saw this piece of land and we tried to jump on it even though it's controlled by another nation and already has, people guarding it from intruders. And we instead tried to take it for ourselves. That's a harder thing to justify to an international community, I feel. And I don't think it would be incredibly successful. There are incredible differences among... Hold up. So, Jedlika is far from the only one out there seeking recognition for a micronation, a self-declared sovereign entity different from recognized microstates. There are over 400 active micronations in the world. Some are just the size of an individual home, while others are larger than existing countries. Liberland itself is on the small side, although larger than Monaco and the Vatican. The microstate concept is so popular that there are how-to guides for creating your own state, and a guidebook to the world's existing micronations published by Lonely Planet in 2006. Most of these micronations declared their existence and asserted their independence in the 1970s and 90s, but even today a few pop up occasionally, each with vastly different aims and identities. There are incredible differences among them and no clear sense of unity at all. Judy Lattis, a professor of sociology at Australia's Macquarie University and an expert on micronations, told CNN last year. Some are secessionists and some aren't. Some are more like virtual game playing, some are art projects, some are very cyberpunk, and others are quite serious political protests or indigenous sovereignty movements. That is one of the only claims that I will ever justify or will ever support justification for, as far as secession and sovereignty and independence, is from an owned land point of view, are indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples, 100%. Your nation, your tribe, your people have been on a piece of land for longer than the current inhabitants of it, longer than the people, longer than some colonizing entity. And then you are now trying to petition and trying to pressure that colonizing entity to give you your right to self-determination back. That's something entirely different, and that's something that needs to be supported and isn't supported enough and isn't talked about enough. I personally am a micronationalist who does not support claiming the land of another country as yours, as 100% independent yours, so long as it is not based around indigenous sovereignty. If you are basing your claims off of indigenous sovereignty, I feel like that's a different thing because you have that history. You have that tied connection to that specific piece of land, and there is huge precedent and huge reasoning behind why it is, very good, very accurate reasoning as to why it is you deserve that land. Because it's yours, because it's always been yours, because it was yours before the modern society that came in and colonized caused problems for you and took away that independence. So, and caused a lot of devastation in the process. There have been many settlements made over the years, especially in the United States, from the brutal treatment of Native Americans and indigenous populations. And so I feel like in talking about micronations and in saying all of these things like, oh, well, Liberland, can't claim this island between Serbia and Croatia, and it instead needs to, get another place. That's excluded for native tribes. For native groups, they have already been there. They were there first, and that should be something that more micronations are pushing for, is to understand and recognize those native sovereignty rights and to be supporting those people who have been doing what is micronationalism on an even larger and on an even more dedicated basis, and for a very good reason. Those groups should be more considering themselves microstates because they should already be nations. They should already be groups that have political discourse with macronations around the world. A lot of them do. A lot of these tribes have people who are political representatives of them that will go and talk to, people in Congress, people in different governmental organizations around the world to try and show, hey, this is us. We've been here. We are trying to get justice for the injustices that have been done to our people, and we're trying to get our land back. So 100% those causes should be supported, and it should be something that is it is also something that should be done with other micronations. Micronations who are not necessarily specifically indigenous sovereignty movements should be supporting those that are. I will be first to say I do support indigenous sovereignty movements just because it's hard. We see stuff, and I want to talk about this at some other point as well, but a few days ago I saw an article that was talking about there are Native Americans who are actively petitioning and are actively pleading with their local governments, with state governments, with federal governments to say, hey, you're drying up the Colorado River. Because of climate change, because of all these different effects, the Colorado River is going away. That being the case, our people rely on the Colorado River. We've always relied on the Colorado River. It's not yours to mess up. It's ours. And I feel like that is one of the largest claims to native sovereignty movements that should be pressed down on, that should be even further confirmed, because you can't have all of these different nations of people who have gone through all of these injustices for hundreds of years to then be only further subject to brutality of their homeland, of the places that just provide natural resources, because now everybody's done using them. You know what I mean? Once they dry out, once they're no more value, then say, oh, okay, well, good luck with this land that you have. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I feel like that is something that all micronations can support and get behind. If you believe in somebody's right to go out and start their own country, you should absolutely believe in someone's right to just have the country they've always had, to just exist in the place that their family has existed for hundreds of years. And that's part of the reason why I don't support micronational secessionist movements. Secessionist movements being people who will go and say, I claim the park down the street from my house, and that's my park now. It's not this government's park or whatever. That concerns me. One, because again, if you look back at it, there are probably people who just are from that country that you're claiming the land from, who have been there for longer than you and who aren't interested in having that government change. The more people you can get to support you, of course, the better that claim is. But then the other thing is, there are probably indigenous tribes who have had that territory as a part of their homeland for much, much longer than even the country that you are claiming independence from has existed. So that being the case, if you do have Native American tribes or native tribes in general in the area that you are trying to claim independence or secession from, you may be hurting them as well by being just another movement that is fighting with them over their own land. So I would say do some research on what you're trying to do as a micronationalist and make sure that you are supporting local groups who are trying to push for indigenous sovereignty. Ooh, we have 9 viewers. First off, thank you guys very much for joining us. Please like the video if you can. It helps us out a lot and it helps me to be able to create this cool content. I hope you guys are liking the camera. This is something that I'm finally able to do with this beautiful camera that I've been having for a long time. I hope you guys are enjoying it. And yeah, it makes this cool, slightly blurry background. Makes everything very fun. As you can see, again, I've been flexing. I've been showing off our cool, wait, it's like that. I think that'll show up in the camera. Now, maybe I can focus it for you guys. Hold on. Yeah, look at that beautiful one. Okay, so there's that. We got this one. Absolutely beautiful. We have this one, which is kind of messed up. I tried to stamp the symbol into it. Didn't work as much as I would like it to. You can see it came out a little bit, but there's a lot of this gruffy part right there. That's just where the aluminum cooled down a bit too much, so I need to fix that. And then, of course, we have our beautiful copper. Oh, that one's so pretty. I love it. But yes, our metals melting industry has actively improved. I want to talk more about that in an upcoming video because we have a lot of updates to give you guys on that front. But it's essentially just continuing to improve, getting larger. I actually got some new stuff for us to be showing off. And I have that video on the wax seal, Aeternia's official seal, coming out very, very soon. So with all of that, I want you guys to keep in mind that Aeternia is growing. Aeternia is doing a lot of stuff. And we have been doing things that are specifically trying to self-invest. So a lot of what we have done over the past, 2 years has been really trying to push getting our narrative out there, really trying to push communicating with the community, getting into connection with other micronations, and delving deeper into who we are as a people through getting more support. Now we have a good amount of support. We have a good following on YouTube. We have definitely a wonderful community that's been supporting us. But now we are starting to need to focus down on ourselves and on improving the things that we are doing internally to make money and to support ourselves and to grow what it is that the Empire of Aeternia is locally. First off, Captain Zinto said hello. It's good to see you, Captain Zinto. The Imperial Kingdom of Salem said hello as well. It's good to see both of you here. Thank you for representing your nation, and I am glad to see you hanging out with us. Let me know what you think about native sovereignty as well and native independence movements and stuff like that, because that's a topic that I still wanted to cover for a good while. And also, let us know what you think about Aeternia and its developments. We've done some of the streams before where we've done metal melting, and I really want to show that off more and more because it's something that I really love and that I think is a really cool process to show off, but it's also something that I feel like a lot of people don't fully understand when we talk about it. Hey, Amazing Connor says back again. Sorry, you're all good. Thank you, Connor. It's good to see you. 27 Kyle says, I wish there was more micronations in Ireland. There are a number of micronations in Ireland, actually. If you have checked out our micronational map, which I recommend you do, there are some. I know as well we have our oh gosh, what is it? Our interview with, I want to say it's New Dareland or something like that. We have a micronation from Ireland that we interviewed as well, which was very, very cool. I definitely recommend you go and check that video out. We have done other micronational interviews more recently, but if you go back and look through some of our series, some of our playlists, we have a video specifically with the leader of a micronation from Ireland. Maybe you can get in contact with them. Vernonium says, okay, it's good to see you, Vernonium. Hey, I'm glad to see you representing as well. But yeah, so I feel like as of right now, we've talked a good bit about micronations around the world. We've talked about Liberland. We've talked about the Kingdom of New Germany, or Kingdom of Germany, whatever. We have talked about places in... We talked about Molossia. We've talked about places in Moldova, all of which has been pretty interesting. So this is a tech one. Is this also talking about this? Have you ever just had it up to here with those clowns in insert diplomatic parliament of choice? Interesting. But is starting your own country good or bad? So this is just their opinion. This is like an article based around, you know, are micronations good or bad? Let's talk about it. Let's see what's up. So first off, thank you guys again for 7 viewers. If you like the video, please go ahead and like it. It helps a lot. It's helping us actively grow the channel, actively getting people introduced to what we're doing. Also, I hope you guys are doing well. Kyle said they're going to sell weapons like wood spears and bows because they're easy to make. That sounds very cool. Hit me up with the thing. Also, Hilda says, where can I find it? Where can we find the map? Oh, I already got you guys. Our website. If you type in the Empire of Aeternia in Google, it should come up pretty quick. But if you go to Micronation Empire of Aeternia, it's even quicker. It's eternianempire.wixsite.com/Imperial Market. This is our website. Right here, as you can see. Micronations, micronational map. Micronational map. Here's a micronational map. And look at that in... no. Dang. I thought there was one in Ireland. We haven't put one in Ireland yet. If you are a micronation in Ireland, please fill out the micronational map application. You can do so right here at Apply for the Map. If you apply for the map, you can get in to the micronational map. I still need to do a few updates for some people. There are a number of people who have applied for it that are not on it yet. That's just from my needing to take care of some of that to update it. But if you guys will jump in, fill out an application, it will help us to get more Irish micronations on the map. But let's talk about Vice and whether their opinion on micronations are good or bad. Okay. What kind of person declares the backyard a new country, wears a towel like a cape, and declares themselves a monarch? I'll give you 3 guesses. Vaguely maniacal Lex Luthor wannabes? Sometimes. Libertarian tech bros with a cryptocurrency fetish? They've done it. Ooh, interesting. Hold up. Who's the Lex Luthor wannabe? I'm curious about that one. Maybe Kevin Black. I don't know. I don't think he's like Lex Luthor. Libertarian tech bros with a cryptocurrency fetish? I'm almost certain they're talking about Liberland. But who's the most likely person to do this sort of thing? Think about it. Kids. Children. Because starting your own country is a dumb thing that kids like. Ooh, dang. That's brutal. Do you hate children? No, of course you don't. And even if you do, fine, let them start their own country where the water fountains spew Mountain Dew and stamps are made of macaroni art or whatever. They can leave you alone for fucking ever, you monster. Oh, goodness. This is interesting. So, first off, the writer of this article going ham on him. Also, I feel like that's a super pessimistic way and also a super disrespectful way to talk about something that has a lot of different purposes to it. Micronationalism is a very broad thing. People of all different walks of life are doing it for all different reasons, and it is legitimately disrespectful to say, well, you know, this is kid stuff. It's just kids who are making and building a thing. Sure, there are kids who are doing that, 100%. And that's fun and enjoyable for them. Some may be doing it for a more serious reason, like to combat climate change. But ultimately, these are people who see problems in their nations and want to change them. There are some people who are very, very serious about that, like us. You know, we're trying to build a country, we're trying to support people and house people and feed people, and that's a serious undertaking. It's an undertaking that takes years and years of someone's life to even start to develop, and it's something that I feel like shouldn't be just kind of lightly dismissed as, oh, whatever. But let's hear them out. Some of the first and longest running micronations were started by kids with weirdo imaginations, like the Arican Empire, which was founded by a kid named Eric in 1987 and claims a few houses in Montreal, a patch of land in Australia, as well as Mars and Pluto as its territory. That's its flag. A fucking smiley face on a Canadian flag. It's not even centered properly. They're savage. They're savage. Then they said, this thing isn't real. It's a harmless internet joke, like most other new countries that are really nothing more than a website and unfounded, unserious claims to land. That's so mean, saying it's not real. There are people who consider themselves part of that nation. I don't know enough about the Arican Empire to know whether or not the founder considers it real. I imagine they do, but I'm really curious. The word real sounds like such a weird cop-out, because saying it's a harmless internet joke, again, I'd be curious to see if the Arican Empire considers it a joke. Maybe they do. Maybe they straight up do. I know there have been some humorous things about the Arican Empire, so if they do, then that's fine. But I think that's a weird tone to take with all micronations. Take another example, the Grand Duchy of Boslavia, which was founded in 2014 and claims a small part of Albuquerque as its own. It's an absolute monarchy according to its website, which is like, can you chill? Ruled by His Majesty Grand Duke Jacob Feltz. It also has claim to Pluto, so watch out, Erica. Boslavia might just towel whip you into submission while pounding Natty Light if its monarch wasn't totally underage. Maybe he could get some of his serfs to pick up a case. This is, again, they're really hard ripping on these people who are starting micronations. I'm kind of thrown. I didn't realize Vice was just out here roasting people. What even? Now here's here's something sure to warm your cold dead heart. The Kingdom of Tolosa was started by a 14-year-old kid named Robert Madison in 1979 in Milwaukee. And it's still around today, except now he's got a family on the joke. Officially, it's a constitutional monarchy, which I guess makes it a pretty progressive fake country compared to some of the other ones out there, like His Majesty Grand Duke Jacob Felt's authoritarian dystopia. Again, I don't know why they're going so hard on this one dude. Just look at this guy's address his country gave his country 30 years down the road. This is his life's work, something that gives him and his family joy. Why wouldn't it? It's totally make-believe. It's exactly the kind of things kid was loved. And by the way, his kid is now the king of Tolosa, with Madison serving as the prime minister. Hopefully this isn't one of those Putin-style deals. I know they're going hard on it because it makes it funny. Like, I imagine from the Vice writer's point of view, they're like, if we just joke on it really hard and we bully it really hard, then it's funny because everybody knows these things are just jokes. But that gets me. Like this guy, you said, right, like, he's been addressing this nation and representing this nation for 30 years. And then it says it's totally make-believe. I don't know that you can say that something is silly if you want to. You can claim that something is not to be taken seriously if you want to. I disagree with that, but you can say that if you want to. The thing that gets me more about it is he's saying the writer is saying it's totally make-believe. Totally make-believe seems far-fetched to me because this man's been doing it for 30 years. They have a flag, his whole family's a part of it. It may be silly to you, but it's definitely not it's not like it's 100% fantasy. These people are living their lives as the representatives of these nations, especially for 30 years. I don't know that somebody commits to something that they believe is 100% entirely fake and a joke for 30 years for no reason. There's benefit to that. There are real life consequences to it. You can make the argument there's some kind of messed up about kids pretending to rule over serfs and peasants as dictators or monarchs. Sure, maybe there should be a socialist republic of No Pants Landia. Why not? But the point is that most micronations are just kids' jokes on the internet, even from the very start. Yes, some deleted people have created micronations with a secessionist bent because, the government, like this one in Florida, naturally, because Florida is a pit where reality and sanity go to die. But seriously, this is kids' stuff. Starting your own country is just fine for kids. Jordan Pearson. Again, hard opinion. Starting your own country is bad. There are 196 countries on planet Earth right now. Some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them are autocratic and shitty, and others are humble and pretty chill. Looking at you, let's say Luxembourg or something, I submit that starting your own country is bad. Your techno-utopian paradise is not needed and is doomed to fail. Ooh, okay. So their like positive light on it was it's kids and it's jokes. And then their negative is like you're gonna fail. This is so brutal. What even? Hey, there's 4 viewers. Okay. First off, 27 Kyle says, I'm going to be a socialist dictatorship. Hilda says, awesome, thanks. Kyle says, but I can't start on yet. I still need to learn a good amount to like, and being a socialist is good because when you're socialist, you don't trade, but you focus more on the people. That's pretty much socialism. Well, not really, but I would be here for 1 hour telling you about it. Interesting, Kyle. I'm curious to hear more about your concept of socialism. Manu says, that's not reporting. Agreed. But I think they're doing like an opinion piece. I think they're getting opinions from other people about micronationalism and talking about it. Max says, hey, what's new? Hey, Max Portillo, it's good to see you. Right now we're talking about Vice and what Vice thinks about micronations. So we're kind of going over some of their stuff, discussing that. Manu says, that's just bad comedy. I think for us, I think for people internal to the micronational community, yeah, it's bad comedy. Yeah, it's in bad taste and it kind of sucks. I think to them, they think, who are we harming by this? You know, but they legitimately are causing problems for the micronational community by doing that, by painting that kind of narrative of it. And that's the thing that I think is interesting. I feel like that's always what's gotten me about things like Microcon, right? Is that, yeah, I definitely want to go to Microcon, but I don't know if the people at Microcon consider themselves to be real, like, I'm sure that some do. I'm sure that some don't. But I don't want to get to Microcon or some other event like that and realize that it, like, everybody's like, yeah, we all agree that this is somewhat fantasy. And me be like, no, that's not me out here. I want to make sure that if I do something like that, putting Aeternia out in a more public eye and doing so in a way that is with other nations, that they're defining and saying, no, this is real to me. This is something that is very serious to me. This is something that I care a lot about. Don't joke about it. Not that it can't be fun, not that it can't be silly. We've made fun and silly videos about the concepts. Ooh, very nice. Tiffany just took off some transistors. Salvaged them to a new part of the Aeternian technological surplus. What's up? Yeah, but that's okay. That's not damaging to them. They're pretty strong. They're old stuff. They're old school. But yeah, so I think I really want to make sure for Aeternia that we are talking about it when we are going to press things and we're doing stuff in a larger scale. I think it is important for me to represent Aeternia in a way that is more serious. Because we are trying to legitimately get people to live and to work and to develop the empire. Max says, hey, support 227 Kyle, go socialism, but do learn more on the topic. Agreed. Hilda says 5 years or more is real dedication to his micronation. Agreed. Manu says that's not the way to do comedy. Agreed. Manu says it's just saying this is bad, this is wrong, this is stupid, don't support it. Are you laughing yet? I agree. I agree with that 100%, Manu. You got that comedy. You got those skills. So yeah, they're saying it's doomed to fail. They say countries come and go. They're formed as a result of often centuries worth of conflict, oppression against specific religions and ethnic groups, genocide, rebellion against colonization, bloody coups, and other terrible, depressing things. This type of country formation is something I am not academically qualified to discuss. But I do know that successful, real countries are not formed by dudes. and it's always a dude who wants to see if Bitcoin... Oh, got you. Hold on. But I do know successful real countries are not formed by dudes who want to see if Bitcoin works as a national currency as a thought experiment. You may find a few like-minded rich white people with internet connections who want to live on your North Atlantic barge in an anarcho and or libertarian Illuminati-free nation, but that doesn't mean it's going to work out. Again, I feel like you're oversimplifying hella hard. I understand. Uh-oh, the camera's dying now. The camera's dying. Uh-oh, okay. Well, let me see something real quick. All right. You guys are having to see me with my frozen happy face while I talk about this. I'm going to keep talking for another second because I want to get through this, but my camera is dying, so I will have to cut the stream pretty quickly. We've been going for 2 hours. We've been making some good progress. We had about 9 people in the stream at one point. We have 5 consistent now. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. If you do want to keep hanging out, it will help us a bit with our watch time. But essentially people are saying, I understand that many people who do this are doing so to make a point, not to actually engage in international affairs and grow into land that snags a seat at the UN. The thing is, there are plenty of countries where you can actually make a point. But that's where I feel like this article has such a wrong viewpoint of it, is that in the positive, they're saying, yeah, micronations are cool to make because they're kid stuff. And then they're saying micronations aren't cool to make, but either way, whether you're positive or negative, we all agree that micronations are not real, actual international political attempts. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that. And I think that should not be the narrative that people are trying to paint about micronationalism. I think it's our duty as micronationalists to actually change that narrative. I think that's incorrect. I think it doesn't make a ton of sense. And I don't think that people should be supporting that. For decades, Chile didn't give a shit about its weird Nazi child abusing enclave. Oh, goodness. Bolivia as a whole community in which an epidemic of Mennonite men has gone essentially unchecked. If those places can exist in the world, you can find some existing country in which to promote sustainable farming or whatever, and you don't have to risk being invaded by former Soviet states while you do it. I actually disagree with that, because I would say there are a ton of groups, you're absolutely right, who can just start groups in other countries. You know, you can say, I'm going to go start a farm in Chile or whatever. And it's like, sure, you can do that, but that also, I think, seems very sketchy to a lot of people, because if you just go and start something out in another country and you get a whole bunch of people to go there and you're not defining exactly what it is you're doing or why it is you're doing it, that can be concerning. It just is. I think as you have a country, as you are defining something that has to have a very rigorous and detailed plan the entire way through its development in order to be successful, you're really testing out the idea that you have, and you're also giving the opportunity for your organization to build faith with people. If you've been around for 30 years and you've always been pitching the same narrative of what you're trying to do, and you have fulfilled the promises that you've made over that time, and you have dedicated and grown and proven your success, that's very different than just jumping in, going to another country, taking a whole bunch of investors' money, and hoping that it works out. That's where situations become very dangerous, and that's what I feel like this person is promoting. As they're saying, no, don't start a country. Don't spend all this time and effort proving your existence and desire for sovereignty. No. Instead, just call yourself something else, get a whole bunch of money, and then just go and do sustainable farming or whatever, as they say. I don't think that's what it's about at all. I think they have a very misguided understanding of what micronationalism is. Yes, being mayor of some weirdo town is less glamorous than being supreme leader of hippie land, population, 6 burnouts, but it's infinitely less obnoxious and infinitely more likely to actually work. So I will say this. Agreed, if you want to incorporate a town, you can absolutely do that. And that's another thing that I think they're trying to dig at, is they're trying to say, well, so if you're trying to do it for a purpose, if you're trying to do it just to, help the environment or to do sustainable farming, you can just do a sustainable farm. Don't worry about that. And I agree with that. If that's your only reason for doing it, then just do that. But I don't think that's what micronationalism is, and I feel like they're oversimplifying micronationalism down to that. They're also saying, okay, so if you're just like an egomaniac, if you just want to have a whole bunch of people support you and follow you, and you just want to be a leader, then yeah, sure, just be a mayor of some town. That's more likely to work out. I agree with that as well. The concept that it is easier to become the mayor of some town than it is to start and run a successful micronation. Yes, if that's what you want to do, if you just want to run and lead a small group of people, then you can do that by joining regular politics, by starting a business, by doing any and all sorts of other activities. But again, I think they're way oversimplifying micronationalism. They're comparing micronationalism to just wanting to be a leader, which isn't the same thing. If you crave international power, become president in a normal way, by becoming a convictionless zombie purchased by corporate interests and selling out over the course of a lifetime. We'll all be better for it. I feel like this is some, satirical comment on the way that modern democracies and modern political institutions work. I still feel like it's weird. I still feel like you're horribly missing the point, Jason Kobler. Major caveat: if you're going to start a new country on the moon or Mars or a cloudy city, state on Venus, please do. I am all for it, and you may consider this my express written permission to proceed. So they're saying, okay, which even more, again, satire, and I feel like is even more of kind of a weird jab at micronationalism, but they're like, yeah, so don't do it on Earth. If you want to start like a Elon Musk style Mars colony dictatorship thing, go ahead and do that. That's fine. I don't care about that. Just don't do it on Earth. And that's the thing that's weird for me, is the concept that this person describes micronationalism as this thing where somebody just has an idea for something, some way they want to help the world, and they're an egomaniac who wants to become the leader of something, so they develop this country. And he's like, if that's the case, do that on other planets, which I feel like is weird. Like, if that is what that person believes micronationalism to be, they shouldn't want that to exist, period, at all, ever. It's very misguided, and I don't think that they should have that opinion of micronationalism, especially if they're someone who's covered Vice stories about a lot of these nations before. But it's weird that you would talk about all these negatives that you think micronationalism is and all of these stereotypes, and then go, but you could do that on another planet. That would be fine. It would be more impactful if it was on Mars or Venus or the moon, because it would be able to grow a lot quicker. It would have access to resources that people don't have as readily on Earth, and you would have a whole industry of people on Earth actively needing to support it for it to survive. So it would be a huge game changer. It would be easier for it to just be a country the size of the Vatican than it would be to have anything up in space. I think that's crazy that they would be like, oh, the benefit should be to join another. The benefit should be to create this nation or whatever somewhere else. It doesn't really matter. But I don't like them. It's such a weird take on this. I don't like it. 27 Kyle says no ideology is bad, but fascism is bad. I agree with that. Aiden says micronations, according to me, has house for its capital, sometimes has dead ideology. Example: communism, fascism, National Socialism. Aiden, again, I feel like that's a little short-sighted. I would ask you to expand your horizons on what you think micronations are. But it is a lot of micronations do fit in that category, I will say. Manu says, I don't need your permission. And that's exactly the point, Manu. I feel like you get me on this one. It's weird because it's a thing where these people are going, yeah, so micronations, right? They're all just a whole bunch of people who want to do this little niche activity. They want to become the leaders of these nations, whatever. Don't let them. They're bad, but also let them. We don't care. I'll give you my permission. And that's the whole point of micronationalism. It's one, you absolutely don't need someone's permission to do that, so long as you're following the law and you're keeping in with what it is that you need to be doing as a citizen of your nation in order to not go to jail. But the larger scope of this is that I think to some degree that's how a lot of people outside of the micronational community view the micronational community, which is a large issue. Hilda said he's a closed-minded person. And I do agree with that, Hilda. I think the thing that is so difficult about micronationalism and about the concept of creating a new country is that it is a lot of misunderstanding by people. I think there is some significant trepidation and some understandable worry about someone starting a nation. If someone just tells you they're creating a country, that can be something potentially very dangerous. It's a lot of trust that people have to put into you to develop something that serious if they are speaking seriously. So I think most people lean to the concept that it's easier to accept something as just not being real or not being serious as to try to take it and dissect it as a serious thing that is happening, as a serious occurrence. And I feel like that is something that micronations as a whole, as a group, as a community, have to try to change the narrative on as much as we can. And that takes good micronations to do. It takes people who are doing good work, taking time to make a positive narrative and to get people excited and interested in in what they're trying to do, in order to show this is something that can work first and foremost. So it shouldn't be impossible, or it shouldn't be bad based on the concept of this being something that is equivalent to failure. You should absolutely be able to start a micronation that can become of relative success to you, and that you can grow the success of through investment and other means. The second thing, though, is that we have to be able to then turn those successful shows of micronationalism, that proof of concept, into a changing of the narrative of what a micronation is. There are, of course, micronations who consider themselves to be more silly. There are, of course, micronations who have all different scope of goals and desires for what they represent themselves as. But at the end of the day, you absolutely have to have some consensus that says, for the people who do consider themselves serious, for the people who consider themselves realist micronationalists, which if you haven't seen my video on that, I recommend you check out Realist versus Fantasy Micronations. But the concept of realism and micronationalism, regardless of whether you're a realist micronationalist or not, should be respected and should be something that is made a community standard. If you believe micronationalism to be a sincere effort or not to build countries and to develop international political opportunities for people who may not otherwise have them, you should still support those people who are. You should still support those native sovereignty movements. You should still support those people who are trying to make homes for their families and trying to make places for people to be able to prosper outside of the potentially restrictive and dismissive governments that they may live under. This is an important time in human history where we are all so connected. We understand each other's viewpoint of the world through the internet, and we have to be able to show support for each other's ideas through that. We have to be able to say, no, we can make these nations. We have the ability to define who we are and what we want for our future and for our families' futures, and we should be able to take that and build the world we want for ourselves. There needs to be a change in narrative in that, and I wholeheartedly believe that that will come for the micronational community. A lot of people jumped in. Hilda said he's a closed-minded person. All movies, books, etc. are started the same way. I agree with you, Hilda. Well put point. Also, Hilda, if you want to join our Discord, I'm not sure if you're a part of it, but I recommend you do. Manu says, why aren't you acting according to my worldview? Exactly. Then puts a baby face and a crying face. I agree. I think that is kind of the weird humor, lack of humor thing that's going on here, is that they're making these jokes based on the assumption that everybody agrees with their worldview. They're funny jokes if everybody does feel the same as you. And I feel like they chose micronationalism as a low ball thing, as like an easy soft pitch to kind of throw their jokes at, to say this is something that's easy to make fun of because nobody really takes it seriously, right? Well, I'm here to tell them that they are wrong. 27 Kyle says, why did you put up a flag that isn't real? Exactly. It's just not, it just doesn't even exist. It's just whole ass imaginary. That's why our camera went out, because it just straight up doesn't exist. Tiffany got a moose. Let me see if I can't get my camera to turn back on. Maybe it won't. Goodness. Nope, just straight up won't. Saying it's dead. Okay. Hilda said, I totally agree with you. Thank you, Hilda. And again, it would mean a lot if you can support our Discord, our YouTube if you haven't subscribed. We have Instagram and Twitter as well if you're on there. All those links should be down in the description, and it does. It helps us a ton. We are actually, I think, 5 subscribers away right now from 1,500. I haven't put that up on our thing, but we are super, super close to 1,500. I think I'm going to change our goal from 2,000 to 1,500 for the next couple days, so that we can hype that up and get that 1,500 mark. So I can't wait. Manu says, Hilda says, I totally agree with you. Manu says, I see a fabric flag with colors attached to a pole, but it's not real. Exactly. Manu says, freaking ghost flag or something. Kyle says, you should be in jail for liking micronation. These are the weird topics and humor of Jason Kobler. Manu says, yes, Kevin Baugh with his fake house, fake backyard, fake park, fake merch, fake colored fabric on a pole. This is like Trump bad LOL comedy. It is an interesting setup where there isn't too much depth kind of dug into it. They're just like, we know as a basis this is bad. We're not going to talk about why. Belagius says hi. Hello, Belagius. Good to see you. I'm glad that you jumped in on the winding down of our stream. We're hanging out and we're talking about how silly it is that Vice, again, and it seems like some of these Vice crews did come in sincerely trying to view these nations and see what these people are talking about. With Kevin Baugh, with President Baugh of Molossia, I feel like they kind of took it as a softball thing. They expected something jokey. Well, see, that was weird though. In the article that they did on Kevin Baugh, they set it up as if it was like she's worried that this guy is going to be like crazy and that they're, I don't know if this guy's starting like a cult out in the desert. This is insane. And then it's like, no, it's this guy who's silly and he started in a little country. How silly, how cute. And so that was interesting. They went like a different standpoint from that, because I think people regularly know how much of a cool person Kevin Baugh is, and so they're not actually that worried about it, but they have to stoke some like fear as a way to keep interest in the article. For people who haven't yet known about Kevin Baugh, I think they did the opposite with the Kingdom of Germany, which again feels like a weird pandering thing. They went from like, oh no, this is fine, they're really trying to start a good thing, right? Oh no, you're not. Oh, it's this big issue with insurance scams and stuff. And I feel like then they took someone who's kind of doing wrong and doing some bad guy moves, and then called them a micronation as well, which is, I'm curious as to if they consider themselves a micronation. It seems like they consider themselves a new state, which again is concerning, but for a whole different reason. So I think they're not. Vice paints micronations with a broad brush, and I think when it looks at individual micronations, it tries to give the opposite spin on them, and then hardcore stamps down on what is ultimately the consensus of their piece. So if they know that Molossia is silly, they will start off asking the question of, is Molossia a really scary thing? And then they'll end it with, no, Molossia is a really silly thing. Isn't that crazy? And then with the Kingdom of New Germany, they'll be like, oh, is Germany, Kingdom of Germany a good thing? And they're like, no, it's actually a really concerning thing. Micronations. And I feel like the only one that I haven't seen them go super hard on was Liberland until this person's article where they're saying, oh no, actually we view all of these micronations as kind of non-serious jokes or things made by people we like don't respect, which is a really weird take to have, and I feel like Vice should sincerely change their opinion. I think the way that Vice will change their opinion is when micronationalists continue to push that boundary, continue to show that there are ways to do this and ways to make successful nations and develop successful attempts at sovereignty that are based around a community of people who support it and based around sincere efforts through legitimate legal means to attain those goals. It's hard. It's a long fought road. And I honestly think it's something that Vice doesn't care enough to put enough attention and time into understanding and deducing. I think they're much more likely to just kind of create a succinct little tagline that they fit to a micronation and then say that's the entire micronation. Like they're saying that this guy who worked 30 years on his micronation, developing it for him and his family, it's just a jokey little thing. That was the thing that got me the most, is this guy. They put him in why micronations are good, which is nice because he seems like Tolosa seems like a nice way to view micronations positively. Tolosa at 30 and talking about this guy who has done this for 30 years and then saying it makes it gives his family joy. It's totally make-believe. That seems counterintuitive. If it gives his family joy and it's something positive, it's something that helps his community, then it's not make-believe, and that gets me. Multiple things. And I know this isn't a hot take. The mainstream news doesn't view micronations favorably or views them as a joke. That's something that I get and I know everybody knows, but it's important to point it out from time to time because it's important to look at exactly how these micronations are framed so that hopefully you can change the narrative with respect to your micronation and its press coverage, and even more so than that, to show that we as a community can have an effect on that narrative. If we as a community continue to speak out about this and continue to say, well, there is much more to micronationalism than you think there is. There are indigenous rights movements. There are people who are trying to fight to break away from and develop their country from like legitimate dictatorships and authoritarian situations. There are people who are developing micronations to change the world in a way that it's not changing fast enough with, like global warming. There are plenty of reasons that people feel like micronationalism isn't just a method for developing their goals, but is the only way to sincerely and truly ensure that their goals will be met. It is a hard-fought road. It is something that does take people their entire lives to develop, and because of that, I think the ones who do make it through should be taken very seriously. We're going to change the narrative. I appreciate it. Bellagio said, yeah, mainstream news seems to take micronations as a joke. Agreed. Why do you think that is, Bellagio? Hilda says, realistically bad article. It's great for all micronationalists. More people are going to check us up. Agreed. I think the thing that's weird about it, though, is yes, it's a bad article. It speaks badly on micronations. Yes, it is a Vice article, which means that it's going to get more information out there. But is the information the right information? If, for example, I start a company that is trying to sell meat. I'm trying to sell beef. I'm trying to sell the best beef patties on the market, right? And the first thing that I start advertising and marketing with is like a toothpaste commercial, and all of my ads and all of my things are centered around like teeth hygiene and stuff like that, and like toothpaste, tooth products. People won't get that I'm trying to do something with beef. And then when they do figure out I'm trying to do something with beef, it seems weird and out of place. It feels like it doesn't connect to what their original thought of my business was. And that ultimately, I feel like, is the concern with looking at micronations as these jokey things. Is that sure, there are some micronations who are jokey things. But if you take all micronations and cover that with a broad stroke brush, then when micronations do come out talking about their sincere developments, when they come out to talk about sincere problems that they see in the world, people either, one, dismiss it and just don't pay attention to it because they think these are jokey nations, or two, they say, that feels really weird. Why is your silly, jokey thing talking so seriously about this really intense subject? Why do you have all these plans and details? Now I'm concerned because what I thought was this really jokey thing is now a serious endeavor to start a country. But if people start off with the narrative of understanding these as people who are trying to create their own countries, who are trying to push for personal freedom and for sovereignty for their people and for independence and for specifically the ability to gain equity for themselves and their communities, it is something that can sincerely change the narrative. And I think it's important. I think even if you are someone who doesn't like micronations, even if you're someone who doesn't respect them, it should still be in your best interest to understand micronations for what they truly are, and you should want micronations to sincerely represent themselves. Because the thing that is a lot worse is like we saw in the Kingdom of New Germany, where they are able to use the title, and again, I don't even think they were using the title. They called themselves a new state. The Vice article called them a micronation. And when you have people who are doing legitimately concerning illegal things also lumped into the category of micronationalism, then it seems like it's these silly group of people who are starting their own countries, haha, not really, and it's these criminals who are trying to cause problems and steal people's money. And there is plenty of in between there. That is a maybe 1% or less than 1% of the micronational community, and there are a whole bunch of people, everyone else is in between that somewhere. Everyone else is even just off of that spectrum entirely. You know, there are people who are developing micronations because they had insane experiences in life, because they have found lack of success within their own countries, and it's just underhanded to lump all these in together, and it doesn't make sense as a way to categorize these truly progressive movements. Keisha Johnson said, "Greetings, micronations are awesome. Enjoy your freedom. Y'all are awesome." Hey, thank you, Keisha. It's good to see you. If you haven't subscribed, it would mean a lot if you subscribe. I'm glad to see you supporting micronationalism. It helps out a lot. I'm Emperor AP, if you don't know, and it's good to see you, Keisha. Manu says, "I have a joke. We're both pretending to be something. I as a dictator and you as a journalist." Got him. Bellagio says, "I wish they could just be more objective, but then I got into micronations from Vice and other news channels, so I cannot complain." Agreed. It's a hard catch-22 where, yes, a lot of people do pay attention to these articles and they'll get interested from these different places. But again, you may be signing up for something that you're not familiar with what it is if you went solely based on those Vice articles. Now, the good news is I'm sure you've done your own research and come to understand what it is you're doing since you've started a micronation, but there are plenty of people who may wander onto the micronational community with no idea of what that is. The Mines says, "I'm here. It's good to see you, The Mines." Hilda says, "Gotta go. Thank you for the great info. Bye from Toronto, Canada." It was good to see you, Hilda. Thank you for hanging out all the way in Toronto, Canada. We have people from all over the world hanging out with us today. Drew says, "I'm here. It's good to see you, Drew. I just got home from school. I hope school was well." Keisha said, "Mainstream news are imaginary, aka liars." Ooh, interesting. You call them fake. Bellagio says, "I think it's because news outlets see micronations as an easy way to get views and money without research, and we should not expect them to, as the public would rather, see them as a joke." Agreed. I think that's fair. I think they see it as an easy way to publish an article on something that's strange enough that people would be curious in it, but non-serious and non-familiar enough for people that they can speak badly on it, and there's very few defenders. Keisha says, "Very true, People's Republic of Wallachia. I am subscribed and you are inspiring." Hey, thank you very much, Keisha. If you want to join our country, you are able to actually do that. If you can hang out with us on Discord, if you check out our website at eternianempire.wixsite.com/imperial market, you can actually learn a lot about our nation. Its Guide to Foundation and Principles, which is talking about our nation, gives you some information there. And you can actually become a citizen by going up here to the Citizenship tab, filling out an application, and then we will contact you as to what you can do to help our empire grow, how you can play your part in changing the world. So I appreciate you guys. We're going to have some more stuff coming to you all really, really soon. I have a lot of exciting things planned. Again, with the wax seal, I'm on the editing of that video, and I keep editing more. I keep filming more because I'm interested in making it good. Again, we are continuing to grow the metals industry in Aeternia and improving what we can produce there. So slowly but surely, our aluminum ingots as well as our copper ingots are getting better and better and more perfected. We're also just getting a larger mass of scrap metal, so that's great because it means that we are improving the value of our economy as well with those raw metals. And we're getting something neat to show off to people and to start to get for support of our channel. So and for our nation overall. So we're finding ways to incorporate more and more things here internally, and I'm excited to show you all that. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace, everybody. Peace, guys. Peace, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to the Empire of Aeternia. Make sure to become a citizen if you want to fill out the citizenship application. It means a lot. I will see you guys soon. Very soon. Very, very soon. Oh, gosh. Peace, everybody.